Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 145 of the Plastic Posse podcast. This podcast is brought to you by some of our great partners, Microworld Games, Tankcraft, Tamiya USA, Bases by Bill, and AK Interactive. Also, to all our Patreon supporters, a big thank you for making this all possible. We appreciate all the support you give. Now, we are unfortunately down a member this week. Grant is away, so we have TJ, Scott, JB, and myself. Let's go around and have a little catch up and see what everyone's been doing since our last episode. Scott, how have you been?
Hey Jensen, it's good to see everybody. I've been pretty good working on the Crusader. That's been going pretty well. Went to our local AMPS club meeting this week, and that was a lot of fun. Get together and got some good feedback on the Crusader. A couple ideas that I had, so that was good. Also, I don't know if you guys ended up watching the finale of the Miniature Masters show. I watched that, saw how that all kind of got wrapped up. Thought that was pretty interesting. I think they did a good job overall. I mean, they hammed it up a little bit and did the reality TV thing, but I thought it was pretty good. Pretty good. I think it'll have wide appeal potentially. We'll see if they end up doing another one, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've only seen the first two episodes, and then I just for some reason I need to catch up with them. But I really like it. I do like that reality TV show sort of aspect to it. It's I can see that appealing to people who aren't even painters or modelers. So that would be good. But yeah, that Crusader is looking. You sent a picture the other night. That's looking very, very nice. I'm impressed with that. That was great.
Don't it up.
Thank you. No pressure. No pressure. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think, John? What do you think of the show?
Oh, I think it's good. Lindsay and I have been watching it. We actually watch it every week, which is kind of cool. And I actually think, I'm not going to spoil it, but I think the right person won. I've been a fan of their work since day one, and I think the right person won the show. So yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed it. Like you said, they're a little cheesy here and there, but it's entertainment. I thought for the first time it went really well, and I'd love to see another series. It certainly was a production. Like they did a lot of work for that show.
Yeah, I think the sponsors really came through for them, and they seemed to have the right mix of supplies on hand and pretty decent prize money, 10 grand,
Yeah.
and like you said, my wife actually watched a couple of the episodes with me. It was asking questions about it, so I think it was good. So anyway, but yeah, just Crusader, Jensen. I'm kind of focused right now.
No, that's good. I'm looking forward to seeing it in person. TJ, how about yourself? You've been a busy boy. I know you weren't here in the last episode. What have you been up to?
Yeah, just being really busy. I wasn't here last episode. I was in Michigan for instructors training. Unfortunately, they messed with our schedule this year, so normally it's like a whole week, but now this year because of the UA convention, which was this week, they I don't know why they did it. They like made it from Tuesday to Tuesday. It was really dumb. So yeah, it's better than I guess working, but it's still full day of classroom stuff and not fun. But I'm done and I finished it and I graduated, so it was pretty cool. And yeah, there's been working, so I'm trying to work what I can because school starts again in 2.5 weeks, so that's gonna take up a lot of my free time. If I'm gonna work a Saturday, I'd rather be at work because I make more money there. So yeah, I haven't been doing a lot of modeling actually. I haven't really had the time, and my kids are back in school, and they both do sports, so that's going to be like 2 to 3 nights a week on top of school because it's going to be every Friday night for football season because my older daughter is a cheerleader on the varsity team, and my younger one is a starter on the freshman volleyball team, and they I think play 2 games a week or something like that. It's at least a game a week. So yeah, I'll be really busy. I'm looking forward to watching my kids excel at their sports, but I'm also not looking forward to all the time at the bench that I'm going to miss because I got to do.
Yeah, SMC's coming around. Because I was about to ask, does it look like you'll get any respite anytime soon? But by the sounds of it, no.
No, not really.
Oh,
Not really at all.
unfortunate. Well, hopefully, as and when you can get time to model, you will.
No, I think there's a pretty good chance I'm not going to have anything new for the show, which is disappointing. So we'll see. I'm going to try. I'm going to try like hell. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, life is what happens when you make plans. So, speaking of being very busy, JB, how about yourself?
Everything's going great on my end. Yeah, a little busy. Launched a little operation this past week officially, which has been pretty cool. So grateful for the support of the community. We can talk about that a little bit later. On the bench side, I've had the opportunity to work on the RSO a little bit, which is actually a really, really nice kit. Shout out to Mark Bradley, who brought two back from Omaha for me. I really appreciate that. And I've actually started both of them because they're just so easy. And, if you make a little mistake and if it's not perfect, you're like, I'll just build the other one. I've been working kind of two in parallel almost, but yeah, it's really nice. One of them I have the Lion Roar photo etch set for it, and I've been using bits and bobs from that for this one. It's meant for the Dragon kit, which is a little bit different. The biggest thing I notice is that the Dragon kit likely has the bed sides a little higher because the support pieces that I was going to replace on Tamiya, they're just a little longer. So I don't know what's going on there. So I guess just a little dimensionality issues. Maybe the one that Tamiya measured is a little different than the one that Dragon did. But overall, I mean, it's a fantastic kit. You can throw it together in literally an evening. And no issues from a fit perspective at all. So listeners highly recommended when it comes out in September. It was only $30, which is wild. So super excited to get that done. I have a flak 38 2 centimeter for the back of it. There's like one photo of one with it. I was like, oh, that's a little bit more unique than your typical RSO. So overall, I think it's a great kit. And as people have said and people have shown, I know Rob Riv has a video out that's really good. Clayton just dropped his, which is really good. So there's some YouTube videos out there that show the build, show the finish. And I mean, the standout, I think, is the canvas cover. Talking to Mark Bradley, he had just finished his almost in earnest, and the canvas cover sticks out. It's awesome. And I guess it's really easy to pop off and pop on if you want to keep stowage in the back. So overall, fantastic kit. Can't wait to see them out. I'll probably buy at least one more. Scott and I were talking last night that this begs for a civilian post-war kind of log carrier or some sort of agricultural vehicle. It's got that kind of vibe. So I really like it.
Yeah, I got a couple from Mark as well, and one I'm going to forward on to Grant. And again, to me, it just carries on the tradition of, making incredibly valuable, money for the value kind of kits. $33 retail. Opened it up, was really impressed with the engineering. Super crisp, looks like ease of assembly, and little things like the RSO one has that really awesome rounded cab, which really gives the vehicle its character, and the way that Tamiya engineered that roof line with the back piece that goes to it. I mean, just incredible how they've minimized the seam lines to the maximum extent possible. And the way that the center console goes together, and then it gets covered up with other pieces. Just typical to me. Really great. And yeah, I'll probably get another one when it comes out as well. But yeah, I definitely have my eye on those civilian ones. They Stair made, I guess, over 1,500 of those post-war for agricultural and forestry and all kinds of applications, and they came in all kinds of different colors. And so yeah, there's a pretty wide palette, whether you want to do the military war version or the post-war. But yeah, great kit. Super glad to have it. Appreciate Mark getting a few of them and bringing them home from Nats for us. That was really great.
Nice. Yeah, I've been eyeballing that kit. Initially, it wasn't really a subject that interested me because I was just like, well, Mini Art have released like 50 different versions, but then you can compare Mini Art and apples and oranges. You can't really make the comparison. Two completely different types of kits, different types of builds you're going to get. So yeah, even on my part, that's an unfair comparison. The Mini Art
Yeah.
kit isn't going to be something you can slap together in an evening.
Well, yeah, I mentioned the kit, the cab, and
Hmm.
that's Clayton's build of the mini art RSO is what kind of made me reconsider getting one, because
Yeah.
I love this vehicle. It's really great. I think I built two or three of the old Italeri Peerless ones that have been around forever, but the way that that mini art engineered their cab is a little more typical of them, very complicated and multiple seams, and the roof line isn't straight and level anywhere. It's rounded side to side, it's rounded front to back. Yeah, and I watched Clayton's video and kind of thought, meh, I'm gonna let Jensen build one of those. I'm gonna pass. Get that off. I've got a Dragon one already, and now we've got a Tamiya one.
I mean, it's one of those. Tamiya can release anything, and people are going to buy it because they're just really fun kits to build, regardless of the subject. Okay, for me, speaking of mini art, yes, me. I'm working on a kit. Don't all celebrate at once. Yeah, I'm started work on my SMC build, which we know how much I love a very rapid approaching deadline. I'm doing the mini art 148 P47 Free French Air Force Thunderbolt. There's something about an olive drab P47 in French markings I absolutely love. I picked that kit. It's the basic kit, so it's not going to have all the panels open, the open cowling machine. It's none of that. It's what they call the basic kit, which is for mini art still not that basic. So I'm going to be doing that, paint all the markings on. That's kind of a given. Mini art decals do tend to be very, very nice, but I mean, it's a build for SMC. I'm going to paint the markings on. So yeah, looking forward to that. It's very typical in its mini art way of doing things. 1 billion pieces, but not when you want there to be multiple pieces. Like the side walls of the cockpits, incredibly detailed, very busy, but to the point of being so busy, very awkward to paint. And it's all one piece. I mean, looks great. The molding is fantastic, but my word, it's busy. So painting the molding on wires and stuff inside, it gets a little bit finicky. But how much of that you're really going to see once it's all buttoned together, because it's such a big round aircraft. It'll be quite shaded inside. But yeah, there's that. But yeah, apart from that, oh no, I did order the res kit cowling engine replacement, because I have seen many builds of it online and YouTube, and nearly every single one I've seen, the cowling was a bit of a issue. I've seen gaps on most builds, and I was like, well, it's going into a competition. I don't want there to be gaps in the cowling. That's a given. And res kit stuff does tend to be really nice, I hear, and there's a UK stockist, win-win. But apart from that, just the usual, D&D, gaming, darts, my hermit little life I live. It's great. Oh yeah, because I mentioned last episode I wasn't going to SMC. I'm going to SMC now. Surprise! Everyone gets to unfortunately see me.
That it took bribing local officials. It took threats. It took some pictures that John and I had from Jensen in compromising positions. But I think we finally got him committed and locked down. So
I mean, for legal reasons, I cannot decline. No, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be exciting. It's one of those I was looking forward to it, then had to cancel because family made arrangements, and then a few weeks ago, the family told me, "Oh, by the way, that's not happening now." I'm like, "Yeah, after I cancel my plans, thank you so much for telling me that." But arrangements have been made. I'm very much looking forward to this trip. It's very different from the last times we've done SMC. So yeah, I'm very excited. Very excited to see everyone. I do love the social aspects of these events. The 2 times a year I do them. So that's yeah, the closer it gets, the giddier I become.
All right, Jensen, thanks for the update. Disappointed to hear that you will be going to SMC. I was looking forward to spending some time without you, but here we are. But yeah, anyway, so let's talk about some models in the Plastic Posse group. I think there's some good stuff these last couple of weeks that people have been posting. I think we got like pretty solidly over 9,000 members in the group now, and still climbing every week. So it's pretty cool. I'm excited to read the day when we finally crest 10,000. It's be pretty crazy, but I know it's going to be here before long. But I'm going to go ahead and start, and I chose Alec Bissett's BMR1 with the mine roller. I think it's really cool. Alex is a cool dude, and I mean, I'm a sucker for vehicles with a mine roller of some variety. So that was pretty cool.
yeah, that's a cool vehicle, man. That family of Soviet vehicles that's based on is really cool. I have the Su-122-54, which is on my list of top armor builds that I need to get after. But super cool. And I mean, JB, it's BMR is kind of something you've looked at a couple times, isn't it?
Yeah, Alex has done a wonderful job on his. The vehicle I'm looking at is the one that was used at Chernobyl, where they put those huge lead blankets all over it. So I have that, what is it, the SU-122, and I was thinking of lopping off not including the gun and then configuring it like that. Alex's piece is certainly an inspiration to dust mine off. Such a unique post-war vehicle. Like the Russians got bit by the Jagdpanther bug, and then realized, oh, maybe this isn't the best idea. And I think they converted a lot of them to recovery vehicles. So great work, Alex. Not an easy kit either, I bet. I'll go with mine. I got to call out Dave Wassel, Dr. Dave. I think his Sherman is looking pretty sweet. I believe it's the old Tamiya kit that's straight out of the box. Really excited to see the work he's doing there, and can't wait to see him next month at RockCon. So a lot of things are happening, and I got to give a shout out to Dave. Looking forward to seeing it in person.
Yeah, it's also a really nice build. I've noticed that one myself and considered it, but you snagged that one. I went with a friend of ours, Brandon Jacobs. He put a case tractor in the ham show. I think it's the Houston Automotive Modeling Society, I believe, show, and came away with an award for it. And it's just really cool. I like that 35th scale case tractor. I've got one in primer waiting to be painted, but he did a great job on it. Has a couple of panels on there that have, look like they've been replaced or painted different colors, and he's done a lot of nice work on the patina. So great job on that, Brandon, and congrats on the recognition.
No, yeah, that's a great build. That's one I very nearly chose. But for me, I went with Alex Clark, the master of 172. He did a Russian prototype from the 2000s known as the OKR Burlak. It's the 172nd Vespid early T90 kit, but it's a test fitted to a T72/90 hull. He's designed this modification in Fusion, so it's all custom. He's done it himself, and he's the tarp that's on top of the turret. He did that in Blender. It's crazy. Alex is becoming just, we call him the master of 72nd, but like truly one of the greatest modelers and designers and executioners of this scale. The work he does is amazing, and yeah, the finish on this very small little model is really good. Yeah, I just keep looking at it now. It's really great work, and I'm really hoping this is a subject that comes to SMC. I would love to see it in person, and I really want to talk to about how he does things like tarps and stuff in Blender. Because speaking to Jackson, who does a lot of Fusion work, even he said Blender is very hard work to get folds and make things look like they hang natural. Very difficult to do, and Alex has absolutely nailed and mastered that. So yeah, I had to choose that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful build, and like you said, he just keeps getting better and better. I also hope he brings it to SMC. It'd be awesome to see that little vehicle in person.
Oh yes.
Awesome. Well, again, listeners, appreciate everybody sharing their work in the Plastic Posse. Please continue to do so. Post your builds there, and if you see a build that you like, pass on a compliment or a comment or a suggestion. That's what the group is for. As TJ said, it's a huge group. You're going to get a lot of really good perspectives on it, and I think we have a pretty good group as far as banter back and forth. Seems to be a lot of positive input, a lot of helpful comments, and questions get answered. So I think it's great. So yeah, continue to post your work there, and we love to see it. Well, let's kind of roll things back. JB kind of teased this a little bit earlier, but we dropped a special episode this week to talk about a special announcement with Tankcraft. So JB, what have you been up to this last week?
Yeah, it's been pretty busy, Scott. It's been really great, though. I mean, the response from the community has been amazing. And I think that just shows how strong the Tankcraft brand is with everyone. So I just want to give a shout out and thank you to everyone. Tons of comments and reshares and posts around the Tankcraft announcement. And I'm just very grateful for it. So orders are flowing in, they're also flowing out, and I look forward to expanding the product line. Gotten a lot of great ideas, and I think what I've realized is I need to buy more stuff. So I'll be working with suppliers this week to bring in and restock stuff that's already here, and then also expand. So overall, it's been really great. Looking forward to more, and can't wait to support shows and the community. And yeah, I mean, I just, other than just a big thank you, it's been a really great time. So that's about all I have from the announcement. Well, you can come check in on me in 6 months and see if this decision was right.
That sounds good, but congratulations, man. I mean, couldn't have been a better new owner for the company, and the products are first rate, and I can't wait to see what you do with it, where it goes.
Yeah, it's really dangerous to have that in the garage because I'm looking over, I'm like, man, I really need a new Tankcraft cutting mat. And it's like, I wonder where I can just literally walk 17 feet and pick one out. So But yeah, it's been great so far, and can't wait to see what comes next.
No, yeah, that's amazing.
Bases by Bill is your partner for creating attractive display bases for your scale models. With a variety of products and custom solutions, Armor modelers will find plenty of ways to present their work, from elegant cherry hardwood bases finished in 4 rich stain colors to our newest line of circular bases. These range in size from 6 to 11 inches and feature a removable insert to safely complete your groundwork. All bases are available with optional engraved text or full-color placards, unit emblems, and national insignia. And it's not just bases at Bases by Bill. We were selected to create the awards for the recent Rocky Mountain Expo, and we can help your club too with awards of all types and for every budget. Visit basesbybill.com because there's always something new at Bases by Bill.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing the future releases and potential. I know there's a lot of people saying let's see like sci-fi things, but with licensing. But yeah, like I say, everything's on the table. So looking forward to seeing what Tankcraft can release in the future. Okay, everyone, I have a discussion point. I was laying in bed one night and I was having a little ponder about things in this hobby because, like I say, I do a lot more thinking about it than I do actually doing it. And one of the things that came to mind was knowing your limitations as a modeler. This can actually apply to any field you're in, but I basically took I'm going to read this out because I took a document. I had to write this down because I know if I didn't, I would forget it because it was like 5 a.m. So for me, it was knowing your limitations and what you can actually do. One of the things I find really interesting about scale modeling is that there is almost no ceiling of what you can learn. There is always another technique, another material, or another level of detail, or another modeler producing something that makes you look at your own work and think, how on earth have they done that? And it's brilliant, but that can also be a trap. With YouTube, Instagram, Facebook groups, magazines, and competitions, we're constantly surrounded by models that are absolutely incredible. You see someone scratch building an entire engine bay or creating microscopic wiring looms, sculpting figures, doing flawless weathering, and painting something that looks like an actual photograph. And then you look at your own model and think, I should be able to do that. But then, because I've looked at, like, say, Martin Kovac's work or Adam Wilder's, and in principle, I do think sometimes I should be able to do this. But then it's like, but should I? Knowing your limits isn't admitting defeat. I think there's a big difference between knowing your limits and accepting limitations. Knowing your limits is understanding what you can realistically achieve right now. Maybe you aren't capable of painting a perfect camouflage pattern freehand, or maybe your eyes aren't quite good enough for microscopic detailing. Maybe you've never done resin casting, photo etch, scratch building, or advanced weathering. But that doesn't mean you can't do those things. It simply means that you can't do them right now. And I think that's an important distinction. Sometimes the best modeling decisions you can make is to look at a technique and say, that's beyond me at the moment. I'll learn before applying it to something important or big. When ambition becomes the enemy, there is also the danger of taking on a project that is simply too ambitious. And I know we've all done that. We're all very guilty of it. You start off with a perfectly innocent idea, and I know Zach is very guilty of this, but then you'll add a little bit of extra detail here and there, and then suddenly you've opened every hatch, replaced every handle, drilled out every bolt, scratch built half the interior, bought 17 pieces of aftermarket, and somehow you're 6 months into a project that you had no idea you agreed to. And at some point, the model stops being enjoyable. And that's when knowing your limit becomes important. Sometimes less is more. You don't have to use every aftermarket part in the box. You don't have to open every panel, and you don't have to replicate every wire and pipe. The goal isn't necessarily to prove how much work you can do. The goal is to build your model you're actually happy with. But don't use knowing your limits as an excuse. There's probably this is probably where I'd make the discussion interesting, because there is another side to this. If you are too conscious of your limitations, you can use this as an excuse not to improve. I'm not good at figures, so you don't do figures. I can't airbrush, so you avoid doing airbrushing. I'm terrible at weathering, so you do a factory fresh, corgi-looking die-cast model. Or I'll never be able to do that. It's a very easy excuse to use. Well, how do we know unless we actually do it? Maybe the real answer is to know your limits, but deliberately push them. Try something outside your comfort zone, but perhaps don't do it on something like $150 kit. That would be maybe a bit foolhardy. Buy a cheap kit, try a technique, make a mess, learn why it went wrong, and then try it again. So my question for my fellow hosts and the listeners, so I think the real question isn't what can you do, it's what are you capable of doing right now, and what do you want to be capable of doing next? because your limits as a modeler aren't fixed. They are more like a horizon. Every new technique you learn moves that horizon a little bit further away. And maybe that's one of the best things about this hobby. There's always another skill to learn. So I'd love to hear from everyone, listeners and hosts, what's something you've tried that was completely beyond your ability at the time? Did you persevere and actually crack it? Or did you realize that particular technique wasn't for you or just not important enough to learn? Do you think knowing your limits makes you a better modeler, or does it sometimes stop you from pushing yourself far enough? This is why I had to write that down. I would have never remembered that.
Man, there's a lot to
There's a
unpack
lot.
there.
I am sorry.
Yeah,
I
I'm glad
should
I'm
have
sitting
broken.
down. Good Lord. Gosh, I didn't know this was a Nat Geo documentary for
I
crying out loud.
apologize. See, this is what happens when I'm in bed at 5 and I'm like, I'm not tired. And my brain goes a billion miles an hour, and as I've started writing stuff down, I'm like, oh, there's a lot of thoughts in this head.
Thanks for making it blatantly obvious that this show is scripted. Really appreciate that, Jensen.
Again, just prefacing that, it was late. If I didn't write it down, I would never remembered it.
I mean, there's some really, really good thoughts in there. There's a lot to address, but one thing that kind of resonated with me is the idea of getting better and knowing your limitations and making plans for that. And so there's a couple things that I've started doing on my builds the last 2 or 3 years. Is every build that I do, I try to include something that makes me uncomfortable. So one specific thing. And Jensen, that little Samoa that you ended up with, that was the first time I ever painted a camouflage job all over on a vehicle with paintbrushes, and tried a technique to make it look good, and worked out good. It's something I'd never tried, and it's an easy thing to kind of look at. But the other thing is, I've made deliberate decisions to airbrushing, like standardize kind of the paints that I use and the additives that I use to try and control as many variables as I can, learning kind of from build to build. So I think going along with knowing your limitations and then also knowing where you're deficient allows you to kind of create a plan, right? And learn how to do those things better. So yeah, I think it, haven't really maybe heard it like framed this way. Yeah, I think it's got some interesting elements to that. What do you guys think?
Yeah, knowing your limits, I was leaning back and looking over at the shelf to understand, where have I pushed those limits and where do I need to go? I look at the Land Rover, or the Land Cruisers that we did for AK and the finish I put on it. It was definitely something out of my comfort zone and something that I haven't done necessarily. And it's one of those, man, it's really the technique. The one thing that stands out to me a lot is like Adam Wilder and Martin Kovac have perfected it, where they do the mini chips everywhere and then they add that little hint of rust, and they do it absolutely perfectly. And that was one where I never really done it before. And, after trying it a few times, like, oh man, like that, what I thought was a limit isn't a limit. I just did it and it looks pretty good. And you got to keep practicing. But, where I failed in the past, I've had delusions. It's funny looking at the same Land Cruiser. I wanted to put a figure with it, and I built that for the first time. First time we went to SMC, which was, we've been there 3 times. So the first time I was there, I took it and I look over to my shelf where my paints are stored, and I have the figure still inserted in a cork that I wanted to include on that model. So there's a clear example of where, limitations and realizing them, and like, oh man, that's been up there for over 3 years. I hope to get back to it, because now a lot of my builds, they have figures integrated into them. And it's just, it's just one of those limitations I need to conquer next. So I think that's one at least tactical example. And then I look around, like I look up to the left, and on the bookshelf, there's a 48 scale King Tiger diorama that I haven't finished yet. And it's another one where, time is obviously the limitation, but the skill set to make the diorama. And there's like, this is weird, but I look at dioramas like Roger Herkman's, Maren Van Giel's, Pete Usher, and those folks that are namesakes at that show we go to every October. And it's almost like this year I'm going to take an extra minute to just really understand and look at their pieces to see how it's odd, but like there's something about the tone of a piece, and especially winter ones. And I think it deals with, Europeans are just amazing painters, and especially again, Roger Herkman's like a gray overcast, and it just captures the mood so much of winter scenes. So that's a limitation I'm trying to conquer, is just putting that, the intangibles, I guess you could say, together for a piece. And I'm limited in a lot of ways, but try to get better at all of them every build. So even though I don't build that much now, but hoping that'll change. So
Yeah, for me, I know my limits of what I can and can't do. I am the expert of using that as an excuse to then never do them. I do like painting figures. I'm absolutely crap at it. But the recent paint set that was released by AK, the one that comes with the quick gens, that kind of revolutionized how I go about painting faces. And the last figure I did actually turned out pretty well. I surprised myself with it. So I'm now looking at that as like, that was never an excuse to not be able to do that. That wasn't beyond the realms of what I am capable of. So there's now no excuse there to not do them in the future. I always love the idea of building ships. Battleships, Japanese Navy ships they're amazing. I would love to do them. And I always tell myself, no, you can't, because they're so refined with the amount of photo etch and all that stuff that I want to include. And I really don't like working with photo etch. That's not really a limitation of skill. That's me just genuinely not liking the media. Thankfully, a lot more of these kits are coming with 3D printed parts now. So again, another excuse is now not valid for me to use. When I did the KV for amps, I was never a fan of whitewashes, mainly because I could never really do them with the textures and layers. I always found when I tried to do layers of color and texture, it became very muddy, and it looked like I'd done the hairspray technique. And I don't think that's ever a good sign. It looked like I did it. With the KV, genuinely one of the nicest finishes I think I have achieved. I've also got foliage on the 3D printed parts, metal tracks. That is one of the most all-round builds of armor I've done that I'm genuinely happy with. And there was a lot on that model that I did that I thought I couldn't do. So what I thought my limits are, or my limitations when it comes to doing certain finishes, was all in my head because, and I hate to give myself credit, I thought I actually did a very nice job in the end. I surprise myself often with what I think I can do and what I can actually do. I think as modelers, we're all very guilty of getting in our own heads and saying, I don't know if I can do it. Yes, you can. You more than likely can do that. And I know I mentioned like social media, Facebook competitions, YouTube, with the tutorials and techniques that are available to watch, like Night Shift, Adam Wilder's videos, a bunch of others, literally it shows you step by step of how to do it. So not knowing how to do it isn't really an excuse. It is shown to you second by second how it's done. It's just most of it, I think, is muscle memory and being like, no, I can't do that. We can. We're more than capable.
yeah, I mean, look at El Miniaturista on Insta. I belong to his Patreon. I freaking love the colors he uses, especially his Space Marines, and they're just so bright. And I'm like, man, I want to try that. And I'm like, well, there's only way to try it. One way to try it is to actually just do it. And I printed out I think he calls it the method. Zach and I've talked about it a lot, and it's step by step. And like you do it and you're like, whoa, I can actually do this. Like it looks half decent. So echoing that, Jensen, like the tools and the techniques are out there already. It's just knowing how to use them. And there is a lot of content out there that really walks you through. And I think I'm guilty of it. I think, and this gets back to TJ's point from before, like the capability of a person is grossly underestimated. It really takes time and discipline and dedication. And I think if you can bring that to scale modeling, if you want to, again, there's no wrong way to build a model, but if you do want to push your limitations, the tools, the resources, it's all out there. It's just finding that dedication. And I'm guilty of it. Like I have a printout of Jose da Vinci's Saturnine painting technique that I want to put on this little guy that I have right here. I just haven't done it. And I'm a little scared of it, but I think what we can all embrace is like the teaching mechanisms are out there. And I think if you take your time and you dedicate yourself, I know this sounds like a dad talking to his son or a grandpa, like, yeah, dedicate yourself to something. I do think it works. I do think you can push through your limitations, and every project like you finish, you can definitely see how you've conquered something else. Now, I'm sure you've discovered something else that you want to approach, but I do believe that I echo what TJ has said in the past and what Jensen just said there. Like the resources are out there. It's just that dedication and devotion to making it happen.
That's a really good point, especially because you're drawing the distinction there, John, and Jensen, you did this too, between something that maybe you haven't done before, it's outside of your comfort zone, but you have to want to do it, right? There's can I do it? And then there's do I want to do it? And those are two completely separate discussions. I'm like Jensen. I don't really care for photo etch that much. It's okay. I use it, but I think it's remarkably two-dimensional in its approach, and I think it looks kind of blingy when you look at a build that has a lot of photo etch on it. But I also think it makes a build kind of, I don't know, flat. That's probably not the right word. And so a lot of times when it comes to photo etch, I'll get a set and they want you to, use all of it. I always end up using just a small amount of it because I think there's things that work well with that two-dimensional approach, and there's a lot of things that don't. And I think a lot of times you're just better off sticking with the plastic because A, it's more three-dimensional, and B, a plastic to plastic bond is going to be stronger than a plastic to metal bond. Yada, 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 right? Other thing I wanted to say, and I'm interested in TJ's input here, but I don't know if you guys ever listened to Joan Biediger's podcast called Her Shrink Ray Eye. She just released one, I think 3 or 4 days ago, and it was talking about artistic paralysis at the bench and trying to choose and kind of going through that whole process of why do we get hung up? Why do we stop? Why do things go on the shelf for years? And kind of getting into that and trying to really get honest and even hold herself a little bit accountable for that. So if you haven't heard that, I thought it was a really good listen. I think it's about 26 minutes long. It's not super intensive that way, but I thought she had a lot of good thoughts that sort of they don't address Jensen's topic here directly, but they're certainly, I think, attached at the hip to some of the things that we're talking about.
I mean, yes. As far as knowing my own limitations, I mean, I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm not as good at. And I try to do the things that I'm good at and not do the things I'm not that good at. But, kind of going back to what JB said, where he referenced what I've said multiple times and I've argued with numerous people over that, man, like anyone can overcome your limitations. Like you just can. You just got to practice. If you don't practice the right way and push yourself, if you just build the same dumb shit over and over again, then you're never going to get better at anything unless you like actually try and step out of your comfort zone, which is kind of hokey, but everyone says it, but it's kind of the truth. I think anyone can look at my body work and be like, oh, this is what he's good at, clearly, because I do a lot of the same stuff. Try to change it up a little bit, but I mean, I like green. So I paint a lot of things that are green or olive drab, same thing. Yeah, I don't really have anything profound to add, honestly.
Yeah, I think there's a bunch of people that you can point to see how they've grown a lot, and they've gotten a lot better. I mean, gosh, there's even a Chinese modeler. I was admiring his work, and I could see his just evolution of painting in just like the last year, and I was like, who? Like, it's not even the same person. And I think you can look across some of our friends too, where they've improved dramatically. I think, Doc Anderson's Scale Model Doc is one where there's like a few projects that are inflection points, and now he's just like the whitewash guy. Um, but he's certainly, you can tell when he turns a corner and his work has gotten super good. And there's countless other examples as well. So I think limitation is a mindset, and that's just me. Maybe I'm too idealistic, but I can't stand when people are just like Debbie Downers or like, oh, I'm never gonna get better. And I'm like, I can't surround myself with that mindset. So that's one thing too. Like you got to believe. And if you don't believe, then you're already screwed. So
Yeah, I think there's modelers, John, to your point, that I really admire, and they're obviously very good modelers, but what I really admire about their work is they're kind of fearless. And what I mean by that is when they set out to do something, they're not going to take any guff from their bench. They're going to do it. They're going to find a way, right? And Machine and Krieger comes to mind. Brian, if it's a whitewash, if it's that Russian crisscross diagonal
Mm-hmm.
paint scheme that's super hard to paint, if it's photo etch, if it's a resin kit that is 45 pounds and costs a fortune. Brian doesn't care. He's just gonna be,
Mm-hmm.
I want this KV-97 or whatever I want this Sherman tank destroyer, and I'm gonna do it. And
Mm-hmm.
the bench is just going to have to let me have it because I'm not going to take no for an answer. Alex Clark is another great example. He wants to build
Mm-hmm.
a particular vehicle, and if he can't do it, then he just jumps into 3D printing, or he scratch builds something that is you can barely see inside his fingernail because it's so tiny. But he's just not going to take no for an answer. And I think it's a choice. I think TJ just really kind of flesh that out really good. But I think if you make that choice, like those two individuals that I'm talking about, you can really be successful. And I admire modelers that again, I'm going to use the word fearless. They're just not going to take no for an answer.
Yeah, John Bryan is one who comes to mind with that because
Yeah.
he has built some pigs of aircraft kits, and he will not be beat. He will contact suppliers. He'll get replacement parts. He will get that kit done, even if he only has to do it once. I mean, I know we all know how easy aircraft are, but still, he soldiers through. Even like because he has built some kits where I'm not touching that because it's an absolute beast. But yeah, he soldiers through and he gets these builds done. So I massively admire him for that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's a great example, Jensen.
yeah,
That Jaguar, he's like, gets a hold of Airfix and gets new parts. And he just like, okay, this Jaguar is going to get built. So, what phone calls do I need to make, and what sternly worded emails do I need to send? Because this is not happening. And yeah, I mean, I love that. I love his spirit. I love the fact that he's stubborn.
yeah. And that's the thing. Stubbornness often criticized for being a bad trait, but I think in certain aspects, especially this hobby, it's a great one to have. It's very easy to just be like, no, this is causing me too much of a headache. I'm just not going to bother. It's like, no, I'm not being beaten by some plastic.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've only ever done that with one kit, and that was a Special Hobby Tempest. That was a bitch of a kit, but because someone told me I couldn't do it, sound familiar, TJ? I did it. So yeah, stubbornness, I think, in this hobby, in this industry, is a great quality to have.
I wanna ask you a question. I mentioned sort of brush painting that Samoa, but Jens, I want to start with you. What's an example of something that you went out of your comfort zone? I mean, let's talk about a success because I want to get the listeners' perspectives on this. But what's an example of when you were stubborn or when you just refused to be put off of something where you won a battle with a project or a kit?
Yeah, yeah, that 1 30-second, I think it was 2017 I built it, the 30-second Special Hobby Hawker Tempest. Anyone who's built that kit knows it's a really bad kit. And that's a lie. Straight away, I'm just lying to you all. It's not a really bad kit. It's typical Special Hobby short run. Things do not fit. It's like they're just designed from different people for different parts for different aircraft. You are going to have gaps, short run pieces. It just doesn't go together well. No part fits nicely. The cockpit does not fit inside the fuselage properly. It hangs too low. It interrupts where the wings should go. So you had to kind of chop the entire bottom of the cockpit framework out, get rid of all that. The nose being a completely wrong shape and not fitting to the main fuselage. Again, that's one of those jobs where a lot of CA and powder or talc, if that's how you like to do it. A lot of CA, you're going to be doing a lot of scribing, a lot of seam checking for literally weeks to make sure everything's fine. The wing, what's the word I'm after? is dihedral the right word? The making sure it's actually equal and level and right. That just it was not good. But one, I was sent it to do for a magazine, and when I was sent it, I had someone who was just like, "You will never ever get that kit done. Not because you don't want to, just because you're not good enough to get it done." I was just like, "Fine, okay, I will."
Did Aaron tell you that?
I mean, who is he to say that? No, honestly, it's because the guy had built it prior to me and was like, "Oh yeah, it's a pick of a kit. You won't be able to do it." And I was just like, "Fine, let's see." And I've still got it. I still have that kit. It's one of the few models I haven't got rid of because not because it's the best finish, but because I look at it, I'm just like the amount of effort and work that went into getting that kit look presentable and right and not look like it was a pain in the ass. Yeah, I've still got it. I love that kit because of how much it really tested my patience. Would I build another? Yes, I have 2 more in the stash, but I know what to expect going into it. And I know where its many shortcomings are. But I wasn't giving up.
That's a great example. I love the I-16, and I think in 1/32 scale, it's like the perfect size. It's a tiny little airplane, and so in 32nd scale, it's great. And I had heard all these horror stories about the ICM I-16 kit, and particularly about the cowl. And when you put it together, I had to put pieces of sprue in the fuselage to kind of keep it straight. The plastic's a little soft. And then when you build the cowl, you've got to literally take each piece of sheet metal that goes over the engine area and you've got to shim it a lot of times in more than one direction to keep everything true so that you get a nice fit all the way around the cowl, radially speaking. And it was work, but when it was done, I really enjoyed it. Now I've got 2 more of those in my stash because I want to take another shot now that I kind of know, what I'm facing. So yeah, that's just, I wanted it. I did it. Really wasn't maybe as bad as I was thinking. I don't know, John, do you have an example maybe of something that, you weren't looking forward to or was outside your comfort zone, but you're just like, too bad. You're going to work.
I mean, I think it goes to the T-34 that Jensen has that we've talked about in the past many times where, it was going down the wrong road in terms of color. And then after talking to you, it just beat the bastard into submission and make sure it just gets finished. And I think I need to take that approach with other models too. I mean, now I find myself like there's a moment where you just kind of get triggered and you're like, ah, damn it, I kind of screwed up the whole build. And then you take a step back and you're like, well, no, I didn't. Maybe this part is just maybe misaligned a little bit, or this paint didn't come out exactly perfect. And I think in those instances, we as modelers just need to persevere. And that's something I'm guilty of and need to do more often.
Yeah, I think that's excellent advice. TJ, what about you? You have a win, something where tenacity and stubbornness won the day, or
I mean, I don't know. I gave up a lot. It's based on the number of in progress things that I have in my closet and on the shelf and in boxes. I mean, most of it's not giving up because I'm like, oh, this is defeating me. Most of it's giving up because I'm like, now I'm bored. Like, I want to go do something else. No, I think like, I guess if I had to pick one thing, it might be my return to Cinder Sherman that I took to SMC 2 years ago. I thought that thing was gonna whip my ass because that weird ass color that it is. And I'm like, I'm not an artistic person, despite what my wife loves to tell people. And I am not. I can't mix colors that well, I don't think, anyways. But somehow I managed to nail that one. I haven't figured out how. Luck, I guess. But yeah, that was a tough project. That yep, I thought I was gonna win. I really did. I was very nervous, and then when I managed to pull it off, I was very pleased with myself. Because it's the first time I'd ever like replicated like an actual thing down to like as detailed as I could get at the time. I'm a little annoyed because I could probably get it more detailed now, but yeah, hopefully that's what you're looking for, Scott.
yeah, absolutely, TJ. And I think maybe that's something that is a part of this, and maybe that's why Machine and Krieger and Alex and some of these people that we brought up, maybe John Bryan, maybe that's part of what they enjoy, because I think you take a lot of pride when you're like, kind of, you hit a wall, right? You run into the wall on your bicycle when you're looking down at the road, and you get up and brush yourself off and get back on the bike, right? I think you take a lot of pride in that, Jensen. But I love how this point is, knowing your limitations, and then it's almost like this subtext of know your limitations, and then what are you going to do about it?
Know your limitations, then ignore it. Carry on anyway. No, that was good. I very much enjoyed everyone's perspective on that. I very much want to hear our viewers and listeners' perspective on that subject, because I know there are a lot of people who comment on posts often on Facebook, people's work, and like, this is so great, I would never be able to do this. I think a lot of people would very much surprise themselves if they actually, committed to doing it. So yeah, I really want to know everyone's perspective on that discussion going forward. So yeah, write a post, comment on our Facebook page, and we'll look forward to reading them.
All right, now over to an interview that Scott and I did with David Hobbs. This is, or as we just call Hobbs, he's a master researcher, tank guru. There's a great story in here about him and Brad Pitt. We found photos of that, so we should post them online. I don't recognize him, especially with his glasses on, standard issue glasses. So listeners, sit back, buckle up. This is a great interview, and we'll see you on the flip side. Well, listeners, I'm excited for this segment. We're here with a great friend of the podcast and someone that has influenced the hobby writ large on the research side for years. And I can't wait to really dive into the conversations with Mr. David Hobbs, who is a researcher, historian, consultant, military enthusiast, and designer specializing in armored vehicles. He assists museums and historical societies throughout the world with maintenance and restoration of armored vehicles for display, and works with scale modeling companies that we all know to design accurate kits and aftermarket accessories. So let's just jump into it. But before we do, Dave, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Just coming off the IPMS Nationals up there in Indiana, and trying to get some stuff lined out for the next couple of weeks. We got a couple of shows down here in the South we're going to be attending in the next couple weeks as well, in months. So yeah, just kind of getting at it and going through the weather and whatnot.
So I have to ask, coming from the Nats, I've seen you at shows. How big of a stack of Dragon kits did you bring home with you?
Honestly, it wasn't a lot of good Dragon deals like it was in Texas, though.
But, yeah, Texas was crazy.
Yeah, there was a guy there was a couple of younger guys that were selling off one of their dad's, I think their father's stashes, but it was all U.S. and it was a lot of new stuff and a lot of good deals on that, like PE, a bunch of PE and like Quinta instrument panels and stuff. He had $2 on those each.
$2.
Yeah, and I was like, dude, you gotta bump the price up on this. The guys were Duke Van Mike and Steve Munzel, a bunch of guys are rotating through there, picking him clean. I think he sold everything. He had 700 scale ships and 72nd US armor and a 35th armor machine. It was pretty good.
So, and one more question: did you buy the new Tamiya RSO?
Yes.
Okay.
I was last day I was standing there. Stu Malone was at the paint area right there. The table was right next to it. It was kind of like last year where the Pack 38s were, and there was a stack. There was like 4 left. So I stood up and I said, "Hey, there's 4 RSOs left." And the guy walks by, "Make that 3." So I handed him an RSO and I grabbed 2 and I left one. And I went over and I saw Brandon on the way out, and I was like, "Hey, it looks like you're almost out." And he goes, "You want to buy that last one? It's on display over there. I can box it back up," because he had the screws out.
Yeah.
I was like, "Now let somebody get that." So I grabbed a few.
Nice.
It looks pretty. I mean, I haven't opened any yet. So, but it looked good for what I saw from the photos and some of the guys doing a preview. So, and it was a good surprise, I think. So.
Oh yeah. I was fortunate enough to pick up 2 today from Mark Bradley, who brought them back for me, and they're crisp.
I got to sit down with Mark for about an hour, probably over by the raffle area. After, I can't remember if it was before or after my 228 win, but yeah, that was a good conversation.
Hell yeah.
He's a good guy.
Well, Scott, I've gone off track already in this interview, so bring us back. I'm sorry, I got clotted by Tamiya and I lost all sense of being. So
That's no problem. That's the RSO will do that to people, man. Tamia is always good at surprising people, right? So that's really cool. But yeah, Dave, let's just kind of get into this. Kind of your early life, like when did you get this lifelong passion for armored vehicles? Where did it come from? When did you enter the hobby, and who was really kind of some of your major influences?
I grew up in North Dakota. Both my parents were teachers, and we had lived in trailer houses, but had kind of limited space. Earliest memories were back in like I was probably three, and Dad had like HO gauge and some Lionel gauge trains, and he remember working with that. But he had model aircraft in my room on shelves, and it was the old dual pack Revell 72nd kits. And later I found out that, I saw that he had gone to Alaska for a master's program those 2 summers, I think 70 or 71, 72. Transiting through the Northwest there, he had picked up the squadron catalog. And that's what he made a couple orders through it. So I think he still has the original box he ordered something back then. And it was all Revell 4 engine and the dualies and a bunch of frog kits and some airfix and that. So that was kind of a major thing back then. And then later coming up, we had Kmart and Ben Franklin, TG&Y, places like that where you could buy models, and I was pretty much getting anything I get my hands on. If the lawn cutting money would buy a $5 kit, I could get that, and then you had birthdays and Christmas. So I remember getting like my first military modeler, like in the old U.S. version of like '81, and that opened a big thing in scale aviation modeling. And of course, when Fine Scale came out later, getting stuff like that, and then again ordering from Squadron all through the '80s. So did the same thing like we all did. Grew up, had the monogram kits, had all the Shep Payne inserts, the B-17 crash B-17, the formation ship B-24. I never had the B-17 or B-29. I had the 24, but my friend had the 17, and so we remember, and he had B-29. So I remember working on that one summer when I was staying out there at his farm, helping him out and whatnot. So, but yeah, we were trying to get that, and then I had another friend that we used to go deer hunting with. He had all the OG monogram armor kits. So I remember looking at those at his model room out of his farm and coming up like that. And so we're kind of got into and saw my dad had also had the old school Ballantine books, reference books. And the same guy that was out at that farm, he had the same thing. He had the entire series, but the covers were missing. I remember borrowing some of them. And I think I still have a couple of them, which would have been like 45 years ago. I borrowed them. So. But yeah, and then of course World at War, I think, was a big one coming up. So, and then in the '70s and '80s, of course, we had all the World War II vets still around. So a lot of grandpas and great uncles and stuff. So you got to talk to a lot of people about things like that. So that's the main influence, I think, being in that time frame.
Yeah, a lot of classic influences. I mean, Shep, obviously, generations of us were, going to be forever inspired really by Shep's work, and he had a bigger impact. Those little pamphlets, I know they were probably just intended to be like a marketing thing, by Monogram and companies, but I think they really became something so much more than that. Later they put them all together in books, but I'm sure just like the rest of us that Shep was a massive influence on you as a modeler.
Yeah, I remember seeing it was a show in one of the old Squadron magazine catalogs. Is probably one of the first colored cover ones, because they did a couple color covers in like 71, 72. But there was a picture of Shep, and then it was his 25th scale Tiger was in a diorama with a Jeep. I remember seeing that, and so it was like, who is this guy? And it was always like, seeing these shows and things and thinking I'll never be able to get, grow up and go to one of these shows and whatnot. But that was really good time to be there. But there's also, like we talked about before, a big drought in modeling. So you had a lot of times, where you're waiting for Tamiya to come out with a new release. And like I said, I was trying to get everything I could. I got Lindbergh, AMT, Italeri, Eschi, testers, whatever you could get. So.
Yeah, and there's something about too, back in the pre-internet, social media era, without those magazines, I always looked forward to the squadron, just the mailers, like the black and white or the, black, white, and there was a single color, whether it was green or blue. And like even that had a sense of excitement when it comes in the mail and you see everything, you just start circling them and then you like snip out the back thing and mail order. It's true mail order. Those were good old days.
Yeah, it was always the new releases and whatever they had on sale.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
remember Dad went through that one, and it was all Artillery Testers U.S. stuff. So the M32, the Sherman,
Hmm.
the WC-51 to 63, all that stuff. It was like a $1.99 to $3.99. So he throws together $100 order, and we've got like 30, 40 kits, and everything was in there. Deuce, the water truck, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
And despite its age, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because you're much more of a Sherman expert than me, but that old Italieri M4A3, M4A1 with the 76 gun, M4A1 76, that's still a pretty, I mean, from a shape perspective.
Yeah, you put a barrel on it and some track, or if you can get heat treat those tracks,
Hmm.
it stands up. Yeah, it's still the shape. The hull shape is good. The hull or the turret just needs a little bit of work, but yeah, it'll give you a good mid M4A1 76.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So after growing up, you've gotten bitten by the bug for hobbies. Where'd your professional career take you?
Well, went and I got a scholarship, an ROTC scholarship at the University of North Dakota up in Grand Forks, and it was contingent on my grades, of course. So I went over there and went as I don't remember one or two semesters, but screwed around enough and like a dummy. Didn't make the grade, lost my scholarship, so decided to enlist. Dropped out. Well, actually, I went to another school, played baseball for a season, and it's happened to be the same school my dad was teaching at, so I had him for 13 hours a week. So I made sure I made the dean's list over there. Got enough points to go when I enlisted to make some rank. Came in enlisted in '90, and went to be an Abrams crewman. So that's what I shipped with in '90, and then funny thing about that, got to Knox on the 1st of August, and the 2nd of August, they invaded Kuwait over there with Hussein invaded Kuwait. So I heard about that the whole time. Ended up going to Carson for a first duty station during Desert Storm kicked off after Shield. And then from there, did 25 years in armor. I was a loader, driver, gunner, tank commander, platoon sergeant, first sergeant, and master gunner at the squadron, battalion, and brigade levels, and worked in division staff and did every job in between in staff in my later years. Several deployments. I mean, we went to Bosnia in the late '90s. Our first Iraq tour was in '05 and '08, and then again we went to Afghanistan in '10. And so I did a total of 9 years in Europe, in Germany. There were 3 different tours. Met my wife there. We got married actually in Lewis, but we did 3 tours in Germany. Both kids were born there in Germany on the last 2 tours, and then several stateside assignments. First, like I said, was in Carson, which had some really good hobby shops, as we discussed before, and of course Colpar up in Denver.
Yeah.
Got a lot. That was the time when Dragon was putting out all their Soviet stuff. So they had all the 72s, the 80s, the Scud, which I saw Dramey or whatever they're calling themselves now, is bringing that thing out again. I was here in Benning in '94 for a brief time. So the only place I've been to twice. And then I was out in Lewis, which has some good hobby shops with American Eagles, of course. And then was in what the heck else did I? Oh, California for 6 years. How can I forget that? So I got the Southern California experience with Brookhurst, Pegasus Hobbies. Of course, being out at NTC, got a lot of good experience there. Deployed from there as well. Used to go to a couple swap meets out there. So that's when I first was exposed to amps. So it was kind of amps west at that point with Rhodes Williams and John Tampkin for mission models out there. Would have been about '01, '02, but we'll get into that later on. Once I did the military thing, I was able to kind of disappointed. I was going to come back when I was coming back to the States. We had to deactivate the unit in Germany there in 12. I was coming back to Benning, and I was like, I don't want to go back to TRADOC. I don't want to go to Benning because it's a schoolhouse environment and stuff. And then I suddenly came to a realization that they had moved the armor collection from Knox down here, and I was like, that might not be a bad thing. So I couldn't find it for like a month and a half. So finally, one day in February, I went over to Sand Hill and I was driving through, and all of a sudden I saw some vehicles in this old motor pool pulled in there, and that's when I saw the Yag tire. So when I first saw that, and I started, that's APG, that's all these vehicles and stuff.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, so they were all busy doing something. So that's where I kind of started with that. So that was a good experience. So I got a troop over here in Harmony Church. Did that for the last couple of years. We ran training for lieutenants and other training for different schools. And then in 14, got notification I had to retire. They were doing downsizing, so I was either duke it out or get out at 25. So in my time talking to the leadership in that, one of the armor school sergeant major came down and said, "Hey, what do you want to do?" I said, "Well, I kind of want to go, work on doctrine and write some doctrine stuff over with the TM guys and the doctrinal, technical manuals, not technical manuals, but field manuals. Then I don't know what they're called now. They keep changing everything." He's like, "Nah, I don't harbor retirees." So he goes, "I got a job for you to go down and restore Sheridan for the 25th anniversary of Panama." So when it headed was already volunteering there with Mr. Dyer at the collection. So I got to go down there and be assigned there for a year, civilian clothes. All I had to do was shave and make sure I was there on time and work on that vehicle for that last year. So I got that knocked out. So that was pretty good. Got a lot of good exposure with that. I was kind of the official liaison for the armor school to the collection. So
Nice. So let's peel back the onion a little bit. One of the things that stuck out to me that you mentioned there, and I don't know how many listeners would know this era, but you'd mentioned the Dragon era where they put out like the T80BV, the T72, the BTRs, the BRDMs. Like that was a time. Like when you mentioned that, I was like, holy cow, I do remember that. And my dad had all of them, and there was something about like that style of box art, the subject matter. They were inaccurate as hell, I'm pretty sure, but they were the only game in town, and it was like right when the wall was falling. So Soviet armor was super popular, but that was a time of that was a cool time to be in the hobby. Thanks for bringing that up. There was a lot of cool subjects there.
I think that influence is still today. You see this fantastic box art with a dark background and lightning or storm or flak or something, and then there's a vehicle rolling and it's doing something. And then you had all the different T-Rex has the different dinosaur series. You have all these series,
yes.
Air Power series, you have the C series, 200 scale, 700 scale, 350, 72nd, 48th, 35th, and you had all these different things filling out. And they used to put, they put advertise in the box art, and so you had the new kits coming out like old school Tamiya. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think any of them. I mean, they weren't duds at the time. Everybody was trying to get them all, but yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Some were a little bigger than others, but that was back when I first met Chris Morosco, probably, I don't know, would have been 15, 20 years ago. He was talking about how they were sending photos in for that back. He used to work with Kieran. They were sending photos in, so they were doing everything off of these pictures. Like a walk around photo from desert, from Kuwait or something like that. That's how they built the model. There wasn't any, measurements or anything. So stuff got a little bigger than it should have been. But I mean, a freaking Scud in 1991 or whatever, it was pretty cool. Especially the Bimps. I mean, remember the Eschi or Hobby?
Oh yeah,
it wasn't Hobbycraft then. It was Eschi and Lindbergh were the only other two companies making new stuff. And the 55 and the 80 and the TS 67 from Lindbergh, and of course. The Eschi had the T-74, the little kind of rubbery plastic army men dudes that were with it, and those boxes. But the tank was kind of rough. But I liked their bimp. But that stuff was pretty neat.
Yeah, 100%.
I want to go back and talk about the Sheridan getting to work on a restoration project like that. I mean, what was that like? That had to be kind of cool.
Yeah, back then in 12 and 13, they were still consolidating everything here. Stuff was being railed in. Stuff was being headed, with a civilian transport truck, big, what's it called? Oh, low boy, but super low boy with the bogies and everything on it. And Mr. Dyer didn't really want to start doing a lot of restoration yet. They were still kind of collecting things, so there was some small stuff going on. But I remember getting that thing in, and there were 3 Sheridans pulled off a drop zone. They were cleaning the drop zone up, and since we had some older Russian stuff, they had guys out there and do vehicle ID and then call for fire and simulation things, and it was for the reconnaissance course. So they wanted some Soviet stuff there, so we were in the process of swapping vehicles out. These 3 Sheridans come in. They were in master camo, they had stencils for like 1972 on them, white stencils, but the markings were pretty complete. I don't remember the unit offhand, but one of them had a pine tree growing through the driver's hole, and the other one of them had the gun was not out of battery. The other ones, the guns were out of battery. There was various states, all the swim vane stuff and all the rubber was shot because it'd been out, been out in the sun all this time. So I assessed, kind of went through and assessed them and saw what was most complete. Picked the one that happened to be the one with the tree going through it. And it was a pine tree, about 6 inches in diameter. Got that thing cut out, and then we started the project. And there's another guy that worked with me over in Harmony Church. He came over from another company when that company shut down. He came out and helped a little bit in the beginning, and then there was another gentleman that actually been in Fox Troop 211 ACR in Vietnam, had been blown out of a hatch by an RPG as a loader. He got blown up into a tree, and this Southern Georgia boy, he's out there working all the time. I remember him working like the whole day, grinding down the trim vane in the front, shining it up like it was in a P. Diddy video. And I was like, and all he did all day was drink Cokes. And then one day he got dehydrated, didn't come back for a couple of weeks. But anyways, that was we had a lot of people working on it. So it might have been days where it was one person working, or I might have had 20 people there when we were working on volunteers. So it's slow in the beginning, but once you get your way forward and you figure out what you want to do, this particular one was going to be an outdoor display. It just needed to be sealed up, and a lot of things fabricated for it, like close off vision ports. And I had to fab up where all the rubber was. There's a rubber, it's a flat piece that curves over that has these rubber clips on them, and you just snap it over like a link. It's riveted on the bottom, and you pop it on this hook, and it holds the swim bladder and the swim barrier in. It's all with the cable. So the back's like a convertible. You pop up these rods, it pops it back up. You put the front trim vane up, put that up. There's 2 plexiglass windows, and then you can swim the thing. So all that stuff was in there. So we had to cut all that out, take it all out. So I have this trough on the side of the vehicle around the back, and I went and got some 1/4-inch foam, cut patterns out, and then took it over, measured it out, and then gave it to the guy who worked for the infantry museum. He had a CNC machine, and this guy's like a master fabricator, self-taught welder, all this stuff, could do TIG welding, do all this stuff. He built a 50 cal. You've seen his stuff at the TSF, John. He built this 50 cal from scratch, and he worked on the Sherman. I'll say more about him later on, but he did a lot of that stuff. Anyways, I went over there, got all the CNC stuff cut all my panels out, which was some scrap metal we had from an old map tray. Had a bunch of extra stuff of that. Got it all cut, got it all fit, tigged the back a little bit, got all the stuff laid out, cut out some stuff for the vision blocks in there, and we couldn't get the engine pulled because we couldn't get the turret turned because the turret was fused to the hull. So like the only steel parts of the vehicle. And then got the top done. It was an A1. It was a little older than what they use in Panama, but when we got to the point of painting, we got an email from the guy that was on it back at the time. He was the sergeant major over in Korea. He was all Korean forces sergeant major. He had been a staff sergeant back then in 90 or 89 or 90 in Panama. He's like sending photos of the vehicle. We had we had the TAC numbers and all that. And I'm like, the model side come out. I was like, I can't paint it like they were there, because they were all beat up and all the little ones showing, and the guys were with Krylon painting the camel pattern. So we went ahead and shot it with some Kark 3-tone, got it all prettied up and everything, and then we put it out there. And then when I got to meet the sergeant major, he's like, "That's not my bumper number," but I had the email folded up in my pocket, and I was like, here we go. But yeah, I went pretty good overall. And that was a time period where we also got to we had to do the Fury demonstration. They came out and screened Fury for all the soldiers here. And
That's cool.
We got a tasking from Armor School for an American vehicle and a German vehicle to bring over, and then we're going to bring a Stryker and an Abrams. And we were looking at it. We're like, well, we can't really we want to take the Tiger II, but we didn't know what the movie was going to be about. And the Tiger I, the turret was separated from the hull.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought about the Tiger II, but since it's open, they didn't want to bring that. So we had the Panther II, and it was going through a little bit of cosmetics. So got that fixed up in about a couple of weeks, got it painted, and brought over a PAC 40 and one of the 3-inch guns. And then we got the Sherman off Kelly Hill, which is an Elco M4 that I remember when I was here in 94, it was there.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a funny story about that later too, but got that was the first time I got to climb in that, see how roached out that thing was. But yeah, they went and did the interview at the flagpole with David Muir from ABC, talked to, I think Brad Pitt was there, Pena, the bow gunner dude, and the director David. I forget his name. David Ayers.
Mm-hmm.
And there was the flag. So there's like striker, flagpole for the interview. They had all like these actor seats and all that. Then they had the Sherman, and then the Panther, and then the Abrams. So they were doing an interview. The director comes over and he said, "It's a Panther. You know, kind of check it out." So we looked at it for a while. Then they called him back. He had to go back. So I thought everything was good and done. We got out of the vehicle and the crowds were moving through. And then next thing, the guy hits me in the shoulder. He's like, "Hey, tell Mr. Pitt about the tank." And I'm like. He looks at me and I'm looking up at him because he's tall. I was like, I didn't know he was that tall. He looked at. I wanted to ask him. I was like, can you do two things for me? Can you do something like from Snatch or something from 13 Monkeys? Can you do the thing? I froze up and I started talking about the tank. So I was talking about the Panther and I started doing my hand stuff. So there's a picture on Getty Images of me like doing it.
I gotta go find that now.
Yeah, it's flexing like this, right?
Yeah.
And Pitt's like looking at me like, "What the, what are you, talking about?" So he got pulled. And he didn't really care about the tank too much. He wanted to see the Abrams and get in the Abrams, talk to the Abrams guys. Because those guys had done a couple of weeks at NTC, him and LaBeouf. I think the whole crew did, but they did a couple of weeks at NTC for their little boot camp thing. So he went over and talked to the Abrams dudes, and then I was like, "Well, we're done." And then all of a sudden, Ayers came back, and Dave Ayers comes back. He goes, "Hey man, can we still get in there?" I was like, "Yeah, no problem." And I had an OCS candidate. Poor guy was standing out there the whole time in parade rest. We had steps in the Panther. Got up in there, got sat down. We're talking about it. He's like, he starts talking about the movie. He's like, "Oh, I was trying to get all this stuff accurate, all these, ammo boxes and all this extra equipment, and all these. He had all these extra things, and the way it edited. And I was like, I have no idea what the movie's about. This is like they're screening." And he's talking about everything. He's like, "I wanted to get the Tiger 2, or yeah, I wanted to get the Tiger 2 out of Samir, but I couldn't get it shipped over, so we had to film in England, and so we got the Tiger 1 from Wilmington." I was like, "You got the Tiger 1 from Wilmington? That's pretty cool." All of a sudden, through the frickin' escape hatch comes this frickin' dude, a goatee, sticks his head in, and drops like 4 F-bombs, and looks around, and he looks at me, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, Master Sergeant, I didn't mean to swear." So I look at Ayers and I'm like, is he always like this? And he's like, "Oh, yeah, probably." So he's like, "Can I get in?" And I'm like, "Okay, yeah." So I get out of I'm in a TC's hatch. I move over and there goes Shia LaBeouf, climbs into gunner station. And he's like, "It's so much different than a Sherman." And I thought that was cool that he said that, that he was, thinking in that mindset still. Because again, I didn't know he was I knew he was on a tank crew, but I didn't know he was the gunner as that character. So he's like, "Man, it's so much different. It's so different." It's like, "This is a Panther. Which Panther is this?" I was like, "Well, it's a 2, but this is really a G turret. So all the stuff is pretty much the same." And then he wouldn't get out of the tank. We're like in there for like freaking 45 minutes. And there's like all the privates are outside, all the, the basic training kids. And he's like, "We got to keep this moving because they got to go show the movie. They got World War II vets. They got all these people." So finally he gets out and he gets on top of the tank and he has somebody's patrol cap that he got. And he's up there and he's doing all the movie star thing. He jumps off the tank and goes. And then Ayers kind of hung out for a minute and talked. And then they took off. So I thought that was pretty cool. Being fortunate enough to be on that piece of it. But yeah, I thought LaBeouf was all right. But I didn't talk to Mr. Pena or the other guy. So, but yeah,
that's a
crazy story.
Awesome story, man.
But they had some guys from up at the armor school that were dressed in World War II U.S. tanker stuff on the Sherman, so they all posed with them. They got pictures with them. And they were, it was a good deal. And they got a good interview backstage with the World War II guys. They had some 66 armored. I want to say it was 66 armored guys. They got to talk to them, so I think it was pretty neat. So that's a little thing about the Panther too that we're going to probably have to do a plaque for that someday. To have it when they get that thing back moved in. They got a couple of things moved around the museum now again. So,
man, I did not know that story. That is pretty badass.
Yeah, if you look at Fort Benning, I think it's Fort Benning Fury screening. You see the Getty images, and they'll pop up, and there's quite a few. That's where I had to get the things from.
Okay, I'll check it out. I'm gonna find you with your hands, and we're gonna blow it up.
Well, going back when you first got into armor in the military, I mean, was that like, as a guy that was already interested in armor, you're like a kid in a candy store, or did it really fuel your love for armored vehicles?
It was, and I went, you go do your ASVAB testing and all that, and I did pretty well in that. And they wanted the recruiter was like, "You got to go Pershing," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's cool," but luckily, the next year they freaking shut it down. So I was like, "No, I want to be an armor crewman." So he was like a an easy go. Plus, the guy was the left ACR, and he talked all that up again too. And I had known about that unit. I wanted to be in that unit. The unit was on the border of Fulda Gap and all that. But then by the time I got there, of course, the wall had been down. I didn't get there till '92. So I actually got my first duty station in Germany was with Second 11th ACR, and of course, the wall had been down for 2 years, so I missed out on all that. I was screwing around in college when the wall went down, and when the earthquake happened out in San Francisco in the World Series. I don't remember that happening, but anyways, probably one of the reasons I dropped out. But getting over there, you get doing the thing in the military. I went to OSUT, so you start right out like day 3, you're on a tank. So we're down in the motor pool, Potts motor pool, and I'm on a freaking brand new, like a 1987 M1A1 that's freaking it's cherry. So like a new car inside, and we're sitting in it, and they have us reading the manual. It's like read all the safety stuff. So we're reading all this useless. It's not useless, but we're reading every single line. We have no idea what we're reading, but I'm sitting in a freaking Abrams. I'm like, this is the freaking coolest, stuff you could ever do. So, but we had a lot of NBC training and things because of Desert Storm. So it was a good deal. It just made it easier. I got the, I don't know who sent it. My mom probably sent it to me. I got the MB models catalog in basic training about halfway through. I got my first paycheck, it's like $300 or whatever it is. I'm like, I'm going to give you some kits. And I was flipping through it, and Mike Bishop had the Panzer III, that resin brick Panzer III back in the day.
Oh, gosh, yes.
He had the JS2, he had the Char B. I mean, all these things that nobody had because, accurate armor was untouchable because that was, Cromwell and accurate armor were putting stuff out like that. But I remember ordering the Panzer III-E, and I think the Panzer IV-E conversion and T-26, I think. I had those until not too long ago. I had sold the other kit stuff, but I remember dropping $75 on that, and I thought I'd made it. I was like I was the man, I was like getting like finding a cheap wings kit right now. We're buying the new Red Pill F4B. I was there,
Jeez. MB Models is one that I don't know if I remember it, and like you said, they were not the best.
But for the time frame, he had a lot of cool subjects.
It was the only game in town. Yeah.
He had a lot of cool stuff. And I met Mike a lot, a long time later. Let me say it. Recently, a couple years ago, maybe 10 years ago, they came. South Carolina's Amps Club came out here, and we got him in the museum and stuff. And I got to talk to him a little bit. And he was like, "Yeah, it's old school stuff." But I mean, it was just. And I just bought some stuff off one of his Facebook sales here a couple months ago. So still talk a little bit, but I just remember that was the OG, like that JS2. The JS2 wasn't too bad. It's just, I mean, it was back in the day, it was a brick. That's all. It couldn't hollow cast.
All solid. Yep.
Yeah.
And you mentioned going to Bosnia. Did you see any Shermans or M36s when you were there?
Yeah, Bosnia was later in '98. It was out of 11 Cav in Germany. We had to do weapon storage site inventory, so we had to go in and look through all this stuff. And there were 2 primary ones we had. We had went. This one was a base camp, kind of big camp thing, and up on a hill there was like this engineer tape you had to go because there's still mines up there. And we knew there were vehicles up there, but we didn't know what they were. Somebody had said it was a Sherman chassis, so I was like, well, we got to check this out because I know that we figure out what they had. Here on top of the hill is an M36 and then an M36B1, and I'm like, yeah, M36B1 is pretty rare, 192 or whatever built. And going through them and everything, and a buddy of mine, he's still in Lewis now, or up by Lewis, scout, got on there, we're looking through it, and he's like, it has the armor cover on top, as a post-war one for the map, for the assistance program stuff for Tito. He gets in and says, hey, there's still 90 in here, and there's some like 50 cal inside. So we were looking, we had padlocks on it, so we had to account for it. There was one of the Yugoslavian BMP, looking like a mini BMP-2, the rockets at the back, and then in one of the buildings, there was a couple of 114 155 howitzers, big M1 howitzer, and Russian 122s. The colonel had a Gazelle helicopter with the blades folded next to the 600 Mercedes that was parked in his little shop thing, and then a building that had like nothing but weapons, every freaking weapon, like on Uncommon Valor when they open the casket, and he's like, you can't afford these weapons. It opens it up, and Thompson's in there, muskets, MP44s, or not MP44s. I wish there was. It was MP34s that were still stamped. And stuff like that. That was a pretty good deal. And then we had to get a bunch of base plate, 82 mil base plate mortars and the base plates in the tubes and throw them out. And we were throwing them out of the top of this loft. It was like the bottom was commo equipment, and the second floor was the small arms, and the top where the hayloft thing was all the mortar tubes. So we're throwing them out. They're landing, and we're loading them up in this VRS truck. You got to take them to the Russian sector in Zvornik. And I went over and take a leak by a tree, and I looked down, and I see this box, and I see this missile, and I'm like, that's a freaking Sager. You know, the cables hanging out of it. So I'm like, I got to kind of turn myself a little bit to the left. So, anyways, in that story, we got that stuff loaded. We rolled to Zornik, which was about, I don't know, about 45 minutes away. We had female interpreters, male interpreters. One of the girls had to go use the facility, so I'd go and watch. She went around the corner, and all of a sudden I heard this like tire noise, like real faint tire noise, and she was done. It came back out. Here comes two BTR 80s rolling in with the tan 3-tone, and dude does a U-turn in this 2-lane road. It didn't touch the shoulder. He does a U-turn with this thing and gets out. All the guys are hanging out with 1 foot in, 1 foot out. They got camcorders and they got all their helmets kicked back. And the vehicle commander gets off and he's got gold Elvis glasses with the holes in the side. And he walks over and he has a Chicago accent. And I'm like, okay. He's like, he grew up and went to school in Chicago. And he's a captain of this motorized rifle regiment working out his Warnick. So we got to talk a little bit about that. And then they took the truck and they left. That was kind of cool. Got to look in that thing. And I was thinking back to Dragon with the BTR 80 because it was that 10 Afghanistan style, we thought back then. So that was pretty cool. And BTR 50 and a bunch of other, a couple other things, but I didn't see any like M18s or anything. But incidentally, the M18 that we have in the collection was over there as one, and they had cut a hole in the barrel so they could put a rocket inside and run the ignition wires out of that hole. They just elevate the gun and shoot it.
Oh my gosh!
But the M36 that Fort Knox got, and the M36B1 with the unit that came behind me, which Bill Ferguson's a part of, who was the lead volunteer at the museum. He was in that unit. And Don Moriarty, rest in peace, who was out of Fort Knox, they brought that back to Knox. They brought the B1 to Knox, and then the M36 also went to, they brought that to Hood, and the M36 came to Knox. When it moved, we had the M36 originally, and when it was in original paint, it had a 4-digit Serbian army number on it. So I looked that up in my old print, photos of it, and sure enough, it's the same one. So I assumed that the B1 was the same one, which it is, because we finally got that a couple months ago, and that came here from Hood. So we have them back together again from that storage site 056 up in Bosnia.
I remember seeing an M18 from Bosnia, I'm pretty sure, at Knox. It was in the motor pool there.
Yep.
That was back like 04 time frame, I'm pretty sure.
That's the same one.
Yeah.
Well, 04, it would have been right. 04.
03, 04 time frame, yeah.
I think they brought back the 18. The 18 and the 36 were shipped back by somebody because they were getting quite a few, or not a lot, but they were getting a couple things back then.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. There's also a story. There was a museum by me growing up in Hubbard, Ohio. It's been since disbanded. They actually had amps there in the aughts. It was the World War II Vehicle Learning Center, but they had an M36 that was brought back. I think it was Yugoslavian. I don't think it was Bosnian, but anyway, it was the same kind of deal. They found it in a field and it was knocked out by a mine, and they actually called graves registration to pull the bodies out of it, but they brought it back. Yeah, I mean I think that's where most of the M36s come from, is that area. I mean that's how they survived so long.
Yeah, they either got the V2 mod for the back for the T-34, T-55 style engine. They got the big box light guards, and they got some other. Usually have the roof on them.
Yeah,
because I think all the ones with the bio machine gun and some other modifications later on in the what is it, the B2 or the whatever one based on the M10 A1.
Yeah.
Or the M10 itself, not the A1. They were M10 A1s, but the diesel version, those were all sent to like Korea and Far East for the map stuff.
Yeah. Did you ever work in that motor pool at Knox when you were there?
No, I was. My time going to school there would have been like in 97, 98 for BNOC and Master Gunner, then 03 for ANOC, so we didn't get a lot of time. I saw vehicles nearby where the ANOC school was, but we had to move. And I heard about it. I had heard about it. We went to the museum quite a few times, but I didn't know where the stuff was stored other than in the LST building.
Yeah, I've been there too. Yep.
We broke in the LST building. Well, we didn't break. We went into the LST building one Saturday afternoon during BNOC, and Freddie and I walked through it. So I heard about it. I talked to Charles Lemons about it. We walked through, saw everything. As we were coming out, the MPs pull up. He's like, "Hey, so you see anybody go in the building?" And I was like, "No, looking at that Sherman that's out back." Like, what? There's a Sherman out there. There's an M4A4 was out back. That's what I was doing. Just got out of the building. But
that was a cool building.
That was another thing where I was like, I'll never be able to be like volunteer because I'll never get stationed here. And we graduated in BNOC in 97. I remember leaving. I remember being in uniform, getting ready to go. And we're driving by this little wash rack, and the G13 was out there and washing it for 4th of July because it was the big ending of July.
Yeah, they'd run
Washington.
it. Yep.
And I was like, man, what's that about? And it's like, oh, they do a little demonstration and stuff. So
Yeah, the Panther 2 used to drive for that as well. And speaking about that LST building, this is a random tangent, but where did that jumbo go that was in there?
that's the one we have.
That's the one you have. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the OSF tier one. Yeah.
Did they put a longer barrel on it? Because it had a short barrel.
No, when they did when they got Cobra King back from Germany, they
Yeah.
swapped the mantles and guns so they could
Got it.
they could have it as as the relief happened when it
Yeah.
linked up the link up they wanted it
As it configured at that moment.
so it had it the LST building had a 75 and then the other
Yep.
one the Cobra King had been regunned and the counterweight cut off with a 76 at some point, maybe before Hammelberg or maybe after Hammelberg, probably before. They swapped them. The funny thing was I think it was under breach ring where the breach, one of the numbers, it was sequential. They were one number off from each other.
Oh, wow.
So that was pretty crazy. So they might have been built roughly, or they were pulled off the line when they were built like that. Because Fisher only made 254 of them, and there's 10 survivors. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I remember going in there and seeing that. And I was like, wow, I've never seen one before. It was the only one in the States for a while. I mean, I guess there's a few more here, but that was the one.
Littlefield had one, and then there was the Carbon Hill one over here in Alabama. It's been was a range target, and of course Camp Ripley up there had one of those. I saw that when I was in ROTC. We had to do our little one of our freshman or sophomore summer camp things up there. Got to see my first Abrams there, and I got to see a jumbo. So I was like, that's a Tamiya kit. So it's like when I saw the T-28 the first time at Knox. I was like, I'm gonna get like 4 of those OG HVSS Tamiya Shermans, with the big face on it, the big face, the original one. I'm gonna get 4 of those and build that. It'd be awesome. And I was like, what is that? Is it T-29 or T-30? I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna build that, but everything's gonna be scratch built with putty and plastic and whatever.
When was the first time you went to Knox to the Patton Museum?
90. It was 90 during basic training. I'd never been over there before.
And they didn't have the bog stug by then, did they?
No, that came. I want to say that was probably 94, 96, somewhere in there.
Okay. Okay.
I don't remember it there in 92. We had, for when I was here in 94, we had to go up there to do a linked Abrams simulator for the platoon firing. So the 4 simulators linked together. So we drove all the way up there. And, half the guys wanted to go out drinking, or not yet. It was in the daytime, though. But some guys wanted to go screw around, play golf. We went to the museum, then we had that PX that was there. PX that had all the books and everything. But I remember seeing that was when the King Tiger got rolled out and had the paint job on it. So 332 was set up. So, and then after that time, then I think I just bought some stuff. Later on, it wasn't until like early 2000s when I was going. We went over there quite a few times, TD Wyatt or Irwin, that I got to go talk to Mr. Lemons and get in the back and see some stuff and get into TMs and ask him some questions. And that's where my Sherman stuff started pretty much too. I'll talk about that later, but several times to get there at the museum and check stuff out.
Yeah. Charlie Lemons, he was a good guy. I remember I was a kid, early 2000s, and he let me climb on basically anything in the museum. He's like, yeah, you can do anything. Just, the stug that came from the bog because it was an original Zim and paint. They're like, you can't stand on that, but you're welcome to like climb all over the Stu 42 next to it and take as many pictures as you want. I just thought that was a fantastic place.
I like the library. The library set up, the librarian there was real helpful, and they had the periodicals out front, and then they had the library, all the manuals. Everything's down here now, but it was just cool to see that stuff. Because I was like, Mr. Lemons, is there a jumbo manual? He's like, nah, it's just just the regular manual. Like, nah, kid, just a regular manual. What about the M36B1? Nah, there is, but you know what I mean. Back then, I had no idea. All I had was honeycut, and looking at the Sherman, I was like, why are all these hoods different? And these casting numbers don't make any sense. They're just numbers, willy-nilly. It's like, this isn't, that was back in the 90s. So.
Jeez, that's amazing. And then at what point did you find and get connected to like Zaloga and Honeycut?
Yeah, it was hard to that point. I want to say 0102. We had to carry we went to the Armor Conference, used to be there, had a big schedule hall, they had all the current stuff. I was carrying the colors out there. That was one of the excuses for us to get to go. And we would do an 11th ACR memorial thing with General Starry and some folks. So I had some time. I walked into the library. These 3 guys were sitting at the table over there, and I looked, and I was like, oh man, it's Loga. So I was like, I grabbed and looked, military modeler with his jumbo, with his open spoke roll wheels. I said, I'm going to show this guy. I walk up to him. I said, hey, Mr. Zaloga, good to meet you and everything. And like the wheels are wrong in your vehicle. And he's like, no, they're correct because I got pictures of it and stuff like that. And I looked over and and he was like, well, you like to meet Mr. Joe DeMarco, who is like the guy who started the Sherman Minutia page and did research on stuff. And another older gentleman, he's like, oh, this is Mr. Richard Honeycutt. And I was like, I about fell over. I get to meet Zaloga, Honeycutt, and DeMarco, the three Sherman guys at the same time, and I had to sit down for a second. So Joe DeMarco linked up with him. He had some questions. Said, where you stay? I was like, I'm on Irwin. I see Sherman's out on the range and that. And he was telling me it was a Sherman by Crash Hill. The turret should be off. It should be this serial number. It's a little bit older or newer than Old Henry. It's in the museum. And I'm like, holy crap, there's archaeology here to do. So when I got it out there, I went and checked it out, pulled the numbers for it. And of course, Mr. Honeycutt, I was like, what, are you working on a new book? He's like, yeah, we're working on the wheeled vehicle armored car. And I'm like, okay. He goes, well, you like a copy? And I'm like, well, yeah, that'd be cool. I said, what's going to be on the cover? I'll get a copy as long as it doesn't have a striker on the cover. And he goes, well, that's kind of what's going to be on the cover. And I was like, I guess so. I said, well, will you sign it? And he goes, yeah, what's your address? So about a month later, I still got the original box signed that he sent. So that was pretty cool.
Incredible.
I wish you could have got more time to talk. I mean, it was probably 5 years later he was gone, but I mean, we have all his stuff here. We have everything. You have all the original binders of the stuff, and it's like during the heavy series, the T-29 series build up, I got to get in there with Rob Kogan and the curator and scan some of these. I was scanning these for Rob. He had a pretty decent scanner, offline scanner thing. So I get all this stuff scanned. So I was trying to scan most of that manual because that firepower book, the book's only like that thick. That thing is 13 freaking volumes of 3-inch binder that has a hard cardboard thing and it slides in, and it's 103 T43 103. But there's a little bit on the heavies, the 28 through 32 or 34, of course, but the 32's in there, and then some of the 6 and some of the M6 and some of the lighter earlier stuff. But just looking through that and seeing the different things they tried out, they're trying stuff out. They're like, you have to do some work on the engine. You got to pull a fuel cell, all this stuff. It's pretty crazy. It's a good deal.
That's amazing. Like Honeycutt, that was the only game in town for decades.
Yeah.
To even understand what a Sherman was and kind of set the tone for reference material following it.
And that started my interest in like what's about the Sherman, what makes it, how many were made, what was going on with it. And it was probably, I was still in California, went to Mission Models down in Glendale a couple of times where Tamkin's shop was at, and he had all the current aftermarket at that point. He had all the new TMD stuff that was out, like every A-Bear photo etch set along the wall. I think this is before the paints came out and all that. He was still just a hardcore hobby shop trying to get everything out. Yellow Cat, Accurate Armor, like the Accurate Armor Het, the M1000 Het, for like $400.
Oh yeah, so much resin.
Yeah, and all that stuff. So, and getting to see that, and we had a Sherman there at Irwin. We had M4A3 dry stowage Sherman. That was like a family day. They were driving it down the road, and I'm like, man, this place is awesome. We got freaking Sheridans, we got Shermans driving around. But I was still in the unit at that point, so we were doing op for. But 0304 linked up with Rhodes Williams and Tamkin. They had an Amps West kind of thing. Went a couple of meetings with those guys. Got to see a lot of stuff. Meet a lot of modelers in California. Like I said, we went Brookhurst and whatnot. We had a Pershing on post that the guy from Pegasus wanted to get some measurements off, so I got him up there. The owner from Pegasus and his guy. He went ahead and got the tooling done, I think, by Trumpeter. And then they put it out under his label. I didn't really understand what he was doing at that time, but here we are, 20 years later, that's what I ended up doing, kind of the same job. So it was kind of neat to look back on that. And of course, we went to Chino, Plains of Fame, with that Sherman they have, and seeing some things out there. But really, you didn't really have a lot of stuff to look at yet. So after I got back in 06, I was on orders to go to Camp Shelby for ACRC, and I found, of course, stumbled across Perth Military Modeling.
Mm-hmm.
So what Terry Ashley had done, how he did his reviews and how he talked about all the stuff. I was like,
it was fantastic.
Yeah, this is like, and I would be at work and I'd have two monitors. I have my work monitor with my Excel spreadsheet, and I have Terry over here. This monitor. I'm like looking at the current, what is he talking, which should you could do this if you want, you could change it up with this and you could buy this and then links, like, and it was all Rainbow 10 back then. You could get all that stuff. And then I saw freaking Robert Irwin's formation stuff with the Sherman. I was like, I don't have to use the Nishimo A1 anymore to make a freaking A1. I could get Rob's conversion or his A2 conversion and all that. So that opened that up. So
I was actually going to kind of ask you about that, with you brought up Perth military modeling, but missing links, track link, how involved in the sort of early days of forum based armor modeling were you?
In 0506 I was total lurker because I did flight simuling prior to that, like from 98 on, Flight Simulator 1 and Red Baron 3D, and then got into strike fighters back then. Working my way up and down a little bit and did some 3D modeling and Max and that. So I knew the form side and knew everything was, we had the, what was that thing called? ICQ, I think it was, the chat. It was like Yahoo Messenger thing. We're all rolling on that. I got linked up with a bunch of different people all over the world. And that was between like 2001 to 2000, all the way through. Well, now I still talk to some guys that are still around. So a noob will come in on a forum. You don't want to jump in and start asking dumb questions. I'm a fool. So man, it must have been like 2 or 3 years. I was just on missing links, just watching it. So I saw Roy Chow, Mike Canaday talking Sherman stuff, Kurt Laughlin. I mean, all these guys that are like freaking PhD, guru levels up here talking about, there's an antenna pot that's made by this company. I'm like, what are you talking about? That's like a locomotive company. It's like, duh, we're making all this stuff. So I looked at a lot of that. I didn't really get involved in that too much until like 07, 08, a little bit there. And I linked up with Harl Van Sweden, who's up in Michigan. And he was a master maker. He's still a master maker for Joe Bakanovic in TMD. So I linked up with him, and I had seen all these photos from this dude named Chun Su. And I'm like, who is this dude? He's at Knox. He's shooting like these detailed photos of like the jumbo and the LST building. He's like, incredible photos. He got a ruler in it. I'm like, man, who is this guy? I picture this, this little Asian dude, probably like 30, long hair, glasses, little punk dude. And like 13, I meet him. He's like 55. He's got his down hole comb over going. He's got a good hairdo going. And he's a Chun. I'll segue to Chun real quick. Chun is the main guy right now, our main designer guy with Take-On. We got him on in like end of 17, early 18. Charlie Pritchard and I campaigned to get him going because he had commitments with a couple other companies. He's from Taiwan, but he moved to Knox or to near Fort Knox in like the early 2000s or it's either the 90s or 2000s. I don't know the exact timeline, but he's been in the States for quite a bit of time with his daughter and his wife, and they'd run a restaurant there at Knox, and then that was his livelihood. His wife ran a restaurant. He was the guy, but he got to go to the museum all the time. He's a volunteer at the museum, so he did a lot of work initially with the AFB Club, measuring data, sourcing like that. He's an OG guy. He was in military in the 70s. He was a mortar platoon leader. He had to go on some island someplace in the Chinese frontier, and ride an LST out there. They got M24s. They got all this old school World War II equipment. And he had been a modeler. Him and his brother had been a modeler since they were real small. So I mean, he scratch built an AVLB like in 80 something in a Nashorn back then, and won a bunch of stuff. They've been going to Shizuoka shows for at least 25 years now. Their club. They're 8 guys. The club had the gentleman that owned Dial Park and made Dial Park. He was in their club.
Wow.
There's a couple guys still on Facebook, and they just went last year. So they went every year. Through Chun, I don't know how many people I met through Chun, but we met him at Banning here. The first time we were hanging out, he was measuring the 911 het for Meng. That was one of the jobs he did. And he had measured a couple of their vehicles that later on we ended up redoing and doing for Take-On. But he was in on he designed the M54 5-ton that everybody's building now, and he's got probably about 10 other vehicles and a lot of stuff for Hobby Fan. So we'll talk about him later on when we talk about Andy's stuff, but he's really prolific in that. So through Carl, I get to meet Chun. So we got linked up on that. So Carl needed some information about this hatch on this M4A176 that we just got back. They painted up as in the mood. It's this particular lower hatch, split hatch that has to stand up straight and vertically. And it was in '08. I was still in Germany. It was in Grafenwehr, so it had been moved. It was over in Grafenwehr at the NCO Academy. I said, "Yeah, we got that tank." So I remember going over there, looking at the tank. Because end of the day, it was getting dark, and walking around it. I'm like, "Man, it's just another later M4A176," and I'm walking around it, and son of a gun, it's freaking ain't got a turret ventilator. And I'm like, "Wait a minute, it's got all this light stuff on it." So got in, climbed through the bottom, got inside through the escape hatch. Got interior pictures for him. He needed the interior hatch. He was making that hatch up. So sent him a bunch of photos. Ended up, I think I put a couple of missing links, but somehow they ended up in the Son of Sherman book in the first, or then both the books for the reference for that hatch is one of my photos, but got mixed up in all the stuff they did. So anyways, it was kind of cool to get your first photo published in a book like that. But got Carl all the information, and after that, talked to Carl the whole time. Then when Joe sold the company off back in '09 or so, and to his brother, kind of lost, I had a big order in with them. They were trying to fill that out, and they kind of lost contact with them a little bit. Still talked to Carl. And then when I PCS'd here, I was like, well, these guys are in Florida. I don't know where in Florida they were. I didn't know how far away it would be. So that was prior to 13. So prior to the AMPS Nats in 13 in Atlanta, we linked up, and Joe came up and was with Tank Workshop guy, and they had a table together. I remember talking to him. He's real busy at the time, but I introduced myself then. And then the next year we went to Auburn. So that was the first AMP show I went to. So I got to meet Carl there in person. I got one with Joe, met Jose Rodriguez. We rolled up together because he was still in Florida at that time. So we shared a room up there in Auburn, and that's where I met Rob Irvin, Pat Stansel, all the AMPS guys, of course. All Shire's. Draw a blank on names again, but the whole AMPS crew, the whole Chicago crew. But Stansel, and then John Hale. I had John Hale, Rob Urban, Pat Stansel, and a couple other guys drinking beer with the Chicago dudes, all the Sherman guys in one spot too. So that was pretty cool.
I was at that show in Auburn. So
I remember you being there, but that was my first time I judged AMPS too. We had I got pretty tanked. I got pretty ripped with the Chicago guys because they had all beer in those coolers or at the thing. Yeah. Joe had to come get me and take me back to the hotel.
I was there with my mom and dad, so I was not part of that crowd, unfortunately.
John had a completely different AMPS than you did, David.
It was in that museum had the M18 in it, had a bunch of the World War II stuff. Then it had the Batmobile, one of the Batmobiles over there, had the cars and that.
They're the car one side, then the museum on the other, and they only had the M18 because that Martyr 3 was just a shell, and it was there was nothing inside of it. But man, they had some weird stuff. I mean, they had every RSO variant, multiple 250s, 251s. Most of that stuff is in Strasbourg now at MM Park, but man, they had a lot of weird stuff. And that was a good show. Beautiful venue.
That was good that a lot of that stuff got to stay together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got some S&T figures from M&M at that point. And I remember one of the guy. I remember the guy who went to a hobby shop, but he had his kid going around selling raffle tickets for the Suzuka Sherman or Casca Sherman he had. I think it was, I can't remember what kit it was. I want to say it might have been the Jumbo. No, the Jumbo came out that late, I remember, but it was a brand new kit. But he was selling a raffle tickets. He made about $200 off that raffle for that $50 kit. So that was a pretty good concept. We had a real good talk with Carl and Pat Stansel at that time. So
yeah, that's it's funny you mentioned MN Models as well. Marty and Mary, great people.
Yep.
I was just in Chicago and I was hoping their shop would be open, but I think they only open like one day a week now. But that's those folks, MN Models, that was where I bought my first issue. Well, my dad bought it for me, the first issue of AFE Modeler from them. Like they peak like bespoke armor modeling stuff. If you need it, they got it.
I would call him from Lewis, a little apartment, long distance. I could, I don't know. It was late. I don't know if he was in there or if he had a phone line or something. I remember talking to him in the evening, placing an order, and I'm like, "Hey, can you get these Allen kits? Like, who are these Allen? This Allen company? Because the Panzer II-C came out. Before the Dragon issue. And I'm like, you have more of these kits. And then later on in '98, when I was in Germany, I found a shop in Germany up by Freiburg that had them all. The Martyr 2D and all the. They were like, man, they were the bombs. They were like a little better than the Tamiya stuff at the time, but better than Italia, different subjects. So I still got a couple of them, but yeah, that was good. That was good times. So talking to him, and remember calling the Aviation Usk guy that was when he was still out in Washington, talking about for like 2-3 hours about airplane stuff and just rambling. So man. I used to call Squadron in Carrollton from Germany to make an order instead of sending it in. We didn't have internet yet, so I called to talk about that. I'm like, looking at my watch. I'm like, okay, I got 10 minutes before I'm going to blow it up.
Man, and the good old days. And then, in this time period, you had mentioned Chun. At what point did you start getting seriously involved with supporting research and kit development?
He had a commitment with Mang for a while, with that company for a while, so he was kind of standoffish about it. But 15 or so, I was volunteering at the yard, and they said these guys from Tacom are coming, or this guy from Tacom's coming. And I'm like, Tacom with a C, like a Michigan, like procurement for vehicles. I'm like, what the hell are they coming here for? And he's like, well, it's Morosco, it's Gary Owsley, Chris Morosco, and Bo Minnick, and Charlie Pritchett. And I'm like, Charlie Pritchett, I've seen some of his work and like stuff. I didn't know at the time that he used to work for Verlinden as a master maker for Verlinden and O'Fallon. And he's like, well, he just got hired on. Mig was helping out with Tacom, and they got together, and he got linked up, and he got hired by Tacom, and he was doing some builds for him. He did the Cutaway Panther, or the King Tiger first, and he did a Panther and a Berg Panther, and he was an advisor on there. So when they were starting out, and that would have been 14 or 15. So they come in, and we're going through, and we're doing the photo thing, Chris Morosco photo shoot thing. So we're shooting pictures, everything, talking. I get to meet Gary Owsley, who I saw on the forums, and he was very popular in the forums, but great guy in person to hang out with and stuff. Very knowledgeable. He's modern guy. He's helped out with some things, and I got to visit him a couple times up there in Kansas City. You guys like 30 minutes from Sprue Brothers, so that wouldn't be a good thing for me to be living up there. But went through and got to meet Charlie and talk about a bunch of stuff, and then I kind of hinted around. So hey, maybe you should hire me on, or you'd be an advisory job, do a little work and stuff. So he went back and pitched it, and I got picked up. So that would have been 16 into 16 and 17. 17 I was officially brought on, and then we were working back then. Tacom was doing they were doing OEM work with, they were doing some of the work for Ryfield. They were making the Ryfield kits, the plastic parts, and they were doing a little bit of the border stuff, and border stood up later. And also they were working with T-Rex. He was on the design team, so he had been designing some things for him. And they had other people before that. There was like the T55 family was developed by a guy in Germany. There's these other guys that were making this stuff. And it was prior to 18, because in May of 18 we went over with Chun. So we got Chun on board. I don't remember exactly how it had to be early 18 or late 17. Got him on board, and he the boss of Tacom had already known who he was from the club and from going to Shizuoka. So he knew who he was and saw some of his work before. So, and Chun is self-taught on the CAD program to design stuff. So, and he's, like I forgot to say before, he's an architect. He's a draftsman's, like skyscrapers and stuff as his profession. So all that stuff comes in when he's measuring. So you see him working on stuff, you just leave him alone, let him go to town. He's on a vehicle for like 2 weeks, and like Andy's M8 armored car, he's underneath that thing for like 2 weeks. Get all the drivetrain, measure every bolt, every piece, and get it all in there. You can see him now that he's doing the CAD. I mean, it's been doing the CAD for several years, but he's already designing the parts in his head. Back in the hotel room that night, he's already CAD'd it out. He's getting everything set up so it's fresh. So he's got all his drawings. So his drawings are like better than the Actum Panzer stuff, with the old draftsman stuff. So, but it's all manual. If we could get a hold of a scanner, we get somebody to fund us a $80,000 scanner like some of these guys got. We'd be kicking butt, but you know how that is.
Yeah, only a matter of time before that stuff gets cheaper and approachable. Yeah, Chun's a great guy. I mean, meeting him for the first time at the AMPS Atlanta show, super nice. Next time I see him, I'm bringing the Sergeant York. I'm going to give it to him. So I'm hoping to get back in April.
That was one of his Grail kits, getting that knocked out. The Antos was one for Don Moriarty. That was one of the first major ones. But he drafted the design from Volker Ruff's book on recovery vehicle, German recovery stuff, the straddle crane, the 60-ton straddle crane. And the Antos, the 114s he did and designed and had ready to go in 8 months, all three platforms with the 113, the interior, off of one XM 114 and a 114A1, I think. The rest of it he had to do off of the Twister, the 8-wheeler with that 20, because we didn't have a 20 cupola mantle set. So you got all that work together. For Andy's stuff, I worked on all the Andy's kits, but Chun measured and designed the M8 Greyhound, the M3A1 half track, which spawned the 35th kit, and the 113. right now.
Jeez,
Those are
man.
his current projects that he's done. And then, of course, the York, Sergeant York, and he had that for many years. He had the Tamiya kit built up. He had scratch built the rest of the hull, and
Yeah.
he had a couple of them tricked out. It was one of the ones he liked. So he had been down up in Tennessee to check them out, and then out at Sill, getting the measurements on that. I still remember getting you in my shop here a couple years ago because they said they were Secret Santa and you that.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm gonna buy it. And I was like, nah, man, you don't want to buy it.
No, it sucks.
They
It's
messed
all wrong.
They messed the turn up, dude. They messed it up. And I was like, I can't believe I'm saying that because Chun hears me say that. He said, you better not let that get out. But
Oh man, yeah, it's such a cool subject. I'm definitely gonna give mine to Chun, and I gotta buy another one because it's such a unique vehicle, and it's certainly the best. It's the best and really only game in town. Like you said, the old Tamiya one looks like a Sergeant York from the front and 30 feet away, but the Tacom one is bang on.
I mean, when that thing came out, it was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
Just like their Bradleys. Their Bradleys still hold up.
Mm-hmm.
But they're AA7Vs and Jumbo needs a little bit of help, but they're 60 A3. Track and suspension still decent. So
yeah, man. So neat to be associated with so many people that are helping out the hobby. I mean, it's crazy. And during this time, I'm assuming you got close to the folks in Benning, like Bill Ferguson around the same time frame.
Yep. Yeah, we were rolling into that. I'd seen Bill around. He was volunteering there since the beginning. He works for a military contract there. He was also a tanker, also a master gunner. Came through. He came in before me. He did like metal fabrication, airframe work on Hueys and Cobras and stuff prior to that. But then he was in Germany, Iraq, Afghanistan vet. He got to fight on tanks. I was on Humvees in my time, but he was actually fighting in 04 on an Abrams. He's got combat experience in that, and then he works for Northrop. And then I didn't know till a couple of years ago. I'd known him for 15 years. I didn't know a couple of years ago he builds. I was like, what? And then we've been going to shows for the last couple of years. So we've been hitting all the major shows down here. And we just came back from IPMS with our AMPS president down here, Mike Reeves. So he had been in and out, but during the daytime, he would be there during the duty day. I'm over on the other side of Armory Church. 1600 to come 1630 rolls around on my way home on Sand Hills on the way there. So I'd stop in and see what the guys are doing. And I'd be like, what have you guys been doing all day? They like pulled a pack and like set a turret on there and they're all dirty and stuff. It's end of the day. Here's some a-hole first sergeant comes walking in like, what you been doing all day? And they're like, yeah, whatever. So yeah, Bill was a lead volunteer out there for quite a while. Got a step back earlier in the year. He went back home to Illinois to do some family stuff for a little bit, and then Mike Sacklin and I were up at AMPS Nats, and he came back down, linked up, and I brought him back. So we're back at it. I was holding his stash for a while, a couple boxes of stuff and some of his other stuff. So we got all that stuff back. So he's back. He's working on what do you get? Florida from I think it's Dave. Is it Dave Eisenhower? I can't remember if it's Dave. I think it's Dave Eisenhower. I can't remember his first name, but we had bought some of that Polish company that does the hobby rack stuff.
Hobby Zone. Yep.
Yeah, Hobby Zone. He was offloading a bunch of that, so we grabbed that, and then he had the amusing hobby. I don't know what hull it is, like the one of the B100s, a super big long hull with this 128 in the back. That was 128 with some other gun, but he put a 128 and put a flak platform on it. Like a flat gun thing. So he's got that working on. He's working on that, and he just was putting fools on his SU-85, Dragon SU-85 today, with the cats going up and down the table on him.
Nice.
But he was doing a lot of work, like restoring like Sherman periscopes. He'd tear them all down, rebuild them, get them all the factory spec, greened out, and doing a lot of metal fabrication work. Him and Bob Barlow, who is the official guy there. So it's Len Dyer as a director, Rob Cogan as a curator, and Bob Barlow as the head of the restoration area. They started out with the 1441. That was the first major project they did when they moved over. They had already done the Tiger, finished the Tiger up, and finished the Panther G. And then they did the Jagdpanzer IV L70, and the G13 just got finished and put back over. And then John McMillan, who's a business owner in town here, has been volunteering here for 2 years. He started up on the Ag Panther, and he's the one who headed that project. So he's been doing that, and now he's got the Stu H apart, and he's about 50%, I think, a little bit more. He just got the putting the suspension back on. He's going to start painting. So we've been finally. I talked to Panzermeister in IPMS. Talked to him for a little while, and he just shot me some information tonight on the camo scheme, so we can get that fixed up. The same stuff he did with Australians. So I got to ask you about that later too. Don't forget. But getting that worked up. So
yes. So it seems like 2014, 2015, you kind of transitioned to where you were starting to work with like Tiger Model Designs. You
Yep.
met Chun. You met that's about the time when you met Steve Munsell and BJ DeBecker as well, right?
yeah, little later. Yeah, a little later than that. We was going down and seeing Joe quite a bit. It turned out to be about a 4-hour drive. I'd go down and hang out in his old house. And before they moved up north a little bit, we set up. Chun and I actually helped him move during that time frame. It was just prior to Michael as well. Hurricane Michael came through a couple months after that. But go down to Joe a lot, hanging out, helping out with some things, trying to get into a little bit, and he would talking me through how I need to get off this. Everything needs to be 1-to-1 scale, perfect. All the bolts and stuff need to work because he's got to make the product fit the model and not the other way around. Otherwise, you try to make something exact like you can do in 3D now. This is everything's prior to 3D. We had to scratch stuff, and stuff had to fit a model, so stuff is not going to be quite right. I had a hard time, big hang up on that for a long time.
With that compromise.
Yeah, and then you started seeing people designing. Like, there's got to be compromises with it. So
yeah,
the representation of it. But getting into that, and he had known BJ for a long time, super long, way back and stuff. And I remember I had a lot of the Panzer concept stuff coming up too, like a lot of the Sherman stuff he had back in the day, and some of the interior things. I never really met him. I didn't actually meet BJ in person until Omaha. That was the first time I met him. But okay. I talked to him a lot on Facebook and things like that. But
that's when I met you for the first time, was in Omaha.
Yep. Is in that big table you had there.
Yeah.
And that's when I got to meet Sam Dwyer at the same time. So I'd known him for many years on there too. So
yeah.
The Sam Dwyer.
Sam Dwyer.
That was the first time I judged an IPMS was with the Sam Dwyer and So with Steve, I saw some of the value of your stuff, probably 16 or 17, maybe a little later. But John Hale had been advising Asuka, and they were working on Last Chance, the composite, and they were working up the markings. That's about the time when John stood up his Snap-on gig. So he was like, "Hey, can you kind of shepherd them, kind of take over what I'm doing right now, and take shepherd what I was working on to push it forward and that, and start working in there and doing the last things on the decals, and which leads into me what I do for Takeoff. I got hired on to do markings and decals research, and I worked with Ammo at that time. That's who was helping him out. Doing that kind of work, fonts right, get the stuff, try to figure stuff out, and that network's a nebulized. It's a nebula, like all these people, probably 50 people on one project you get to talk to just to try to find photos of vehicles in a unit or other angles and things like that. Working through that whole thing, and I see I don't remember how it was, but so it might have been Steve was working with Asuka. He was doing a couple kits that had one of his sets in it. I think he had a contract like that. So I saw who he was, and I remember coming back off that show, or that show happened, and Asuka had sent him that Last Chance kit, and he was at a show and he gave it to frickin' TJ, and I'm like, who the hell is this frickin' TJ dude? TJ tells the story with a lot more detail, but I remember being like, I was pissed. I was like, who the F is this guy? He's like Ryan Paintworks. I'm like, look at that shit.
Amateur hour over here.
I'm like, yeah, he was like, what? I mean, what is this Crayola? And I was in Crayola, but I was like, oh, it's a paint guy. I was like, but he don't like Shermans. I was pissed. I was just being, I was being petty. I was like, the first freaking composite kit in the States, and just this upstart kid gets it when he's like, 40 years old, 45 years old. Anyway, and I met Steve, and I was kind of mad at Steve too. I was like, man, he's like, well, I wanted somebody to build it. I was like, okay, you got me there. Somebody build it. Paint it. All right.
Ouch. Ouch. The Achilles heel there.
Yeah, I remember bugging Steve. I think it was that Danbury or Virginia regional. I remember talking to him, and he was out vaping. He's out, smoke break and stuff, and just wanted to chill out. And I'm out there talking Mala geek stuff, and he's like, "Who's this fool always coming out here bugging me all the time?" That's when we started hanging out, and then got linked up with Asuka with a couple projects, and then talked to Steve quite a bit, and then later on, probably was it 22 or so, got in the Model Miscreants outfit was going on, which was like Riviezo, Mike Sacklin, Rob DeSanti, Jeff Hearn, and Rob Adams. I think it was. I can't remember if he was back there. Steve Touche was back then. It was all the Northeast guys, like all the ArmorCon guys had a podcast back then, and then Mike Sacklin was running the Armor and Accuracy Facebook page that had been going for quite a while. And I think I linked up with Mike during our AMPS Atlanta show, because it was during COVID. We had to meet outside, so we were meeting out in the parking lot on this awning. I remember, talking to this guy a couple of times. He's working like a McGawk or something. But somehow they got me, like around Thanksgiving of 22. They got me on the Facebook group, and they were doing a turkey shoot, which now he's evolved with Insanity has theirs, and all these other outfits have it. And you guys got there's the 4848. You guys got the Models for Heroes. There's all these drives going on at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I started out with those guys. I was never on that podcast thing or anything, but that's when I linked up with that crew. So, and then Steve, got to know Steve a little bit more in that, because Steve's been really good about sponsoring us down here in Atlanta and helping out with show stuff. So it all kind of, and then at the same time with BJ was in on that crew too. So
yeah. Well, you have very good taste in friends. Those are two incredible people, and BJ, rest in peace. Just an incredible person. I want to back up a little bit with TACOM. You became an advisor for TACOM. I think your first kit project was the T series, the T29, T30.
That was the first major one that we were getting. We thought we were getting serious with it, where we were getting a lot of measurements, and the tanks were lined up at the old facility. They were lined up side by side. Bird nests inside the barrel and stuff. Paint was 5 layers thick and all this. We couldn't see a lot of details. We had worked on the M3 Lee and Grant family a little bit prior to that, in about that same time frame. And I got my hind end handed to me on that with some of my decal work, which was pretty shoddy. I learned a lot in that project. That was one of the first decal projects. But yeah, with the T series, having them there, getting the gun barrel and mantle with muzzle brake stuff, Chun measured up the muzzle brakes. Getting on it, getting the turrets and measuring a lot of stuff on that. And I think they did a really good job on getting them more proportionally than the other kit out there. The other kit out there is the proportions need to be more done off the older drawings they had. But if we could redo those three now, I think we'd have a heck of a lot. Like to the T28 standard that Chun just designed, I think we'd have a really killer project. But it's one of those things that probably won't happen again. I mean, we did the 29E3 with the rangefinder, and then the 3034 kit with the first two.
Yeah.
And we had to back off a little bit on the detail and castings on it, because I wanted to kind of do generic stuff. And actually, Jason Design Studios headed that up for the CAD, and his wife is the CAD designer out of that pair. Jason's the graphics artist guy and does sculpting on that for his figures now. But his wife, before she got semi-retired, she was the CAD designer. So she designed the Lee, she designed the T series, the M46, the M47, and several other take-on projects for that whole period of time. She was banging these things out. They all, they went to school together to a draft, or it's like a CAD and art school. There's also two other gentlemen now that we're working with. That the guy that kind of took over the box art since Jason started the family, so he's kind of taking it easy, kind of running his own thing with his Jason Studio stuff. This new guy for the box art, and the guy that does decals, and T-Rex all went to the same school about the same time. So I don't know if they're classmates, but they're roughly the same couple year groups. So that's where I kind of think where TACOM got those guys, bringing those guys in. So, and each of them started a team. Jason had some people working. T-Rex has had several people until he moved to Japan, and these other two guys got a couple of guys working.
Yeah, there seemed to be at one point, a lot of collaboration with T-Rex and TACOM. I kind of thought they were part of the same company, but apparently they weren't. So
yeah, he was like I don't know what kind of a retainer type thing, or what the technical stuff was about it. But yeah, the Macavas, So I'm trying to look at through the kit stuff, the Merkabas, the Tiger. I think the Tiger 2 was the first major one, but all 17 Panther kits.
Jeez.
I mean, we were doing so many Panthers for one time. We're like, we can't be doing those in the interiors. And then it spawned over to the DAS work ones. We need to do a Blitz A models. We need to do. I think he did the mouse. I think the G6 gun. I don't remember if 55s is another outfit, but he was on a tear for a while. He was the main design guy. Had so much stuff in the pipeline through him, and then with Jason's crew. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Looking at 40 or 50 kits through that whole family time. Because I remember seeing the SMK at the factory in 19, and I was like, what the hell are we doing that for? Because the freaking hole was like this long. I don't even, which one is that? Is that the one that got stuck in Finland and got pulled out? Or is that the one that did was the broke down, which between the T100 and the SMK? One pulled the other one off the line when they were bogged down.
Mm.
There's one built and two built, I think, something like that. So,
yeah, monsters.
Yep. And then that's what that design crew went through. Then I got to go over there back to the take-up thing. I got pulled on in 17, got to go over there in May for Shizuoka and visit the factory, the original factory. And during that visit, I want to say it was that visit, Meg and Carlos were there from Ammo. So I got to meet those guys, hang out. And then another visit, second visit, they brought over two sets of folks. Got to bring over Ishiro Yoshida, who was writing for the Armor Modeling magazine in Japan, and one of his guys, and then Masahiro Doi, who's been modeling for 50 plus years. He's an OG, of course, OG guy. He just recently had his display stuff, and he's doing all the old MM kits.
Mm-hmm.
And Scott Hards and another gentleman who started one of the first hobby shops, modern hobby shops in Japan, came over as well during that trip. So that was a pretty good visit. And we almost had him talked into doing 24 scale armor at that point, but ended up talking out of it. But that was a good networking opportunity, and then got to go to Shizuoka both years. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's too bad about 24 scale armor. I think that's a perfect scale. Yeah. For a lot of pieces, a 24 scale, Panzer 1, Panzer 3, Panzer 4, that'd be great,
Even the big cats you could do relatively easily,
yeah, for sure. And from a sales perspective, I kind of wonder if those wouldn't have ultimately sold maybe better than 16 scale, just because a lot of people probably don't have room for it.
Mr. Doi was like, if you do this, you got to do figures and accessory sets. You got to start it. You got to start and let the aftermarket catch it, because aftermarket was doing pretty good, but again, prior to 3D blowing up.
Yeah,
but we had this whole concept. We're gonna do OG. This whole series on the side of the box. This is us talking. It wasn't takeoff, but we were gaming this. It was like eating chow every day at breakfast at the hotel. Like, okay, what are we going to talk about? You got to do an adversary. You do a Sherman versus a T-34-85 in Korea, and then do a Panzer IV versus a Sherman, and do a Panther versus a T-34. Put them out at the same time and kind of grow it. And the other companies would probably kick in. But then 16 happened, and then that's where we're at. So.
Yeah. What is Shizuoka like? I mean, that's something that I really, really want to go to.
Scale wise, it would be it's two halls. It has two messes. Mr. Tamiya has the thing set up. First of all, you got to go to Mr. Tamiya's the headquarters. That Nakatomi Plaza Tower thing is phenomenal, and the displays in there. It's nuts, because remember all the stuff the flyer used to get, a color flyer. I'm like 9 years old at McDonald's eating a cheeseburger and opening it up and looking at, there's a Gepard in 16 scale. What is that? Looking at Panzer IV, all this stuff. Getting to see that real stuff. The mess, it's a twin mess up. There's an upstairs. They have a flea market up there. There's club only display, and it's huge. It's like one of the SMC freaking vending room size, monster room. And then the other half is the industry side, which is dominated by Tamiya and Hasegawa. And then you have Zoki and Arashima, Fujimi. Usually when, Fujimi or Arashima car companies, they'll have like a skyline, a real skyline in there, and they'll fire it up and be gassing the place out. And then there's an airsoft displays. There's a Beaver Corporation, which is names again. Brian, can't remember his last name, but Brian runs that. He's the importer to Japan for all the home stuff. that's where we got to hang out, and we had to schlep a bunch of take-off stuff and posters down to those guys to get it set up. But all the, Mr. Hasegawa was there, Mr. Tamiya was there. You get to go walk around and talk to the engineers and set up. They have the island booths, with all the guys. They all got the Tamiya aprons on. They got all the new stuff. You see the photos laid out. You're like, hey, I'm like, hey, you guys do an M10? You gonna do an M36? He goes, yeah, I'm just gonna swap the turret. I was like, no, you got to do you got to do a gasser back deck. I said, why did you make the back? Yeah, why did you make the back deck at one piece? You should go ahead and make this modular. He's like,
yeah.
He's like, But they had they had a 16 scale Sheridan there. It was the tricked out one that was blowing smoke out of the back and it was lighting up in that. And I was like, told the guy, I said, hey, I used to command one of them. All of a sudden, I was like signing autographs over there. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, it's different in that it's not a competition. And there's vending, but it's like you have a God Hands vendor, which is like there was like prototype stuff there, drill bits and things that I ended up getting hammered at the Hong Kong airport. I had to get it checked in, but that kind of stuff. And you can't really buy models per se unless you go up to the flea market. So I would put it on par with SMC. It's just different because it's two different things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's more of a Nuremberg thing because it's a trade show, and you get to see a lot of new stuff. And how stuff gets leaked, like this RSO just got leaked on freaking Monday or Tuesday, and the brand is supposed to show it Wednesday. Stuff like that happens for people going in there earlier, but you get to see, and you get to see a lot of repeat stuff. I saw the same Dragon stuff both times. I think the same, same song and dance stuff. But
yeah. Well, before we move off of TACOM, you helped out with the T-28, right?
Yep, that was another one of Chun's Grail to finish up. He started measuring. Well, actually, he started measuring that thing. I think the day he got to Fort Knox, he started measuring it. So 25 years ago or so.
Jeez.
17, 18, he started drawing that thing up with a couple other projects in there and working it through it. Then this last year, they came up with the concept. They wanted to showcase Chun's work and showcase what we were thinking. We're going to do a book. I was like, well, is it going to be like a book? It's going to be a pamphlet. We're going through all that. And it's going to be, we're going to do like 50 pages and we need about maybe 400 pictures. So, okay. So it's a typical, like a magazine article thing. Submit all these pictures. Only a couple are going to get, because of the size and everything. Trying to end up going through like 5,000 of his pictures, and about 2,000 got submitted. That's what ended up in that book. They get truncated down into it. Got the book done. They've got the big box concept going on now. So he got all that in there, and he finished it up. We got some things done. I went back and got in the archive and got some scans, and then dug through some stuff. Saw a couple builds. There was some good online stuff. Even the tank encyclopedia had some good data, so I pulled a lot of that and tried to do both prototypes. And then they're like, well, we want to, it's like we were kicking around a couple years ago. Chad's like, well, where do we do the big T-series guns on experimental? And then like maybe put like an anti-aircraft turret of some sort on it, make it bigger, do all this crazy stuff on it. Because Steve Zaloga had done his Dragon build. He had those close defense weapon projectors on it and flamethrowers and things. And I'm like, I don't really want to copy that. It's cool, conceptualized, but I was like, really, the thing does 8 miles an hour, and it's got to drive 2 kilometers to the objective, and then take the track back off, get back on a train, and go 20 clicks to the next place to fight. Let's put fuel tanks on there. But the idea was to get fuel tanks for the 103. But then when the designer was putting them on, he's like, it's not going to match up because he couldn't match them up to the 103. So now you have the tank concept, but you don't have the wheel. Because I wanted to do a slick 103. Chun and I want to do a regular 103 and 103, 103, and 1. But maybe in the future we'll do a gasser for that. But yeah, he finally got that done, so that was another notch, another tick mark off his list. But he's probably got 20 more projects he wants to get done before he has to hang it up. But he's still got a lot in him. So he said as long as he's still kicking around and he can still drive his car and get around, he's going to be designing stuff. So there's a bunch of recovery and engineer stuff that he wants to get done, and some ship stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the crazy part is there's so much stuff at Benning alone from a subject matter perspective that you just walk around in that building and you're like, oh my gosh.
Well, that was another selling point about getting the job too. Is that we have based here locally. You get anything. We made them a list of all the stuff that was in the museum from Mr. Dyer. Dyer had all the vehicles we had, so he has this list, and then we get a project. It's like the Russian Gadfly missile system. It's like, the hell supposed to get reference photos for that, we don't, but there's things that we have that we haven't got done. it's kind of
Yeah.
frustrating. You want to get on the list and get done. So.
And thinking about the museum itself, it's such a unique place. I'm just curious. You've had exposure to everything in there. You know the background story of everything. What sticks out as one of your most favorite vehicles? I'm genuinely curious.
That's a tough one. I mean, there's stuff from APG that I never thought I'd get to see because I never got to go to APG. Cobra King is probably one of the biggest ones that got moved to the National Army Museum up in Washington, or in Belvoir. Of course, 712 is pretty unique. 332 is pretty unique with that piece of it. We just got that T64B, which is really cool. You never seen a T64 before. Uh, I used to think Panthers are cool until you started climbing in them, and then the Panzer III was my favorite tank until I tried to climb out the escape hatch after I retired and almost died. So I don't like that tank as much as I used to, but that's probably most of the Sherman stuff, I guess. I don't know because the combat stuff isn't really there anymore. They kind of got rid of Cobra King.
Mhm.
Well, of course, all the German stuff, but yeah.
And you mentioned there's a T64B there
Yeah, I
now?
got that last year. It came with
Oh,
APG.
I didn't realize that came from there. Very nice.
Yep.
I'm coming back to AMPS Atlanta this year. I hope y'all can arrange another trip down to the
Yeah,
museum.
what's the date on that? It's going to be 1920. Yeah.
Nice.
Well, going back to the Sheridan restoration, that was really, really cool. Just wondering if maybe there's some other restorations that you've worked on or been a part of a team with that you're kind of proud of.
We were. I haven't worked on some things in quite a few years now. I got quite a robust team going on now, but things we worked on back then, probably 10 years ago, the Panther G, the cutaway Panther G, did a lot of work on that thing, a lot of cutting and grinding. Um, the Tiger One, a little bit on that. I didn't get in personally on a lot of that. We did a little bit of work on it, but that was also pretty much four guys that worked on that. It was cool seeing that thing get done. I was on the team that put the track back on with no engine and no transmission. So you have a free spinning sprocket on a 56. Well, it's not 56 tons because it's gutted, but on a slope out of the bay with the turret on. It's brand freshly painted. We're putting the track on. Bill's on the tug, and Bob's on the forklift as a brake. Bill's pulling it back, and Bob's using the forklift. Me and another M60 guy. Actually, it's the guy George who just did the HL 210 engine. He just tricked that thing out and repainted it. It's next to the Tiger One right now. We're on that with a tanker bar with the freaking track, trying to push this track on, and then every time you got on the sprocket, it'd spin back on you. It took us like 4 hours to get the right side on. And then the poke in the eye to the Germans was we used an M26 Pershing track jack to put the track back together when we put the last pin in. We took a lunch break, came back, and in an hour we threw the left side on and they got it done. So that was pretty cool seeing that done. Seeing John get the Yag Panther done because I gave him to Christmas. He started like in July or August. I said, "Man, by Christmas time you're gonna be burnt out. You're gonna be tired. You're not gonna want to work on it anymore." He powered through it, and it's done, and it's in there. And it's phenomenal. He wants to redo the barrel. He did a kind of a fancy paint camo on it, but kind of TJ'd up the barrel a little bit. But he's gonna go back with a gray primer barrel on it.
That's good. That's good because I was going to ask. I never want to, it's always you never want to correct somebody, but like I saw the paint, I was like, I don't know if the barrel was like that because there's some good color photos that show like you said, that heat resistant primer barrel.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. But like you said, it's a beautiful restoration. I mean, it's cosmetically fantastic.
I think that was being euphoric that it was almost done and he was like going to paint it up. But yeah, he was really frustrated. He couldn't get the gun freed up to move the gun back. The gun had been sometime at APG it had been damaged and it had been something had been bent, so it was jammed. And they did everything. They were trying to vehicle move it. They were doing all this stuff. And they couldn't get it. But he found so much stuff inside the sub in the hull.
Yeah.
But the Stu H right now, I mean, they were finding like they were 105 shell casing and ammunition and Russian ammunition and
crazy
super ammo and seven because one of his main business he runs our biggest gun shop and shooting range in town.
Mm-hmm.
and he lives not too far up the road there. He was going through all this ammo and finding all this stuff, but I mean, he has been phenomenal, kicking ass on this job, getting this thing done. He's got that Stu H is just totally tore down, finding stuff in
Wow.
there, and looking at the other, the OG paint job, looking at the stuff inside that, comparing the two, and he wants to get a decent paint job on it, a good paint job on it, get it knocked out so they can start the next one, which they're hinting at the Nashorn, which is
Oh,
yeah,
that'd be awesome. That poor girl needs a lot of love.
it's gonna be a big thing. And he had been working on some stuff. We had you heard that the Florida outfit down there, World War II guys are shutting down.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
They had they had gifted them brought some some Sherman track up,
Mm-hmm.
and then he was looking at getting some 40 centimeter track made,
Mm.
so we could fix some of the vehicles are pretty seized up. The APG pieces are seized up because there's the Panzer IV and Panzer III. The bottom run is like a set of DS before it snaps.
Yeah.
It was like you could jump on it. It's
Jeez.
pretty roached out. But he had got the stew track freed up, so that's I think it's I think it's 5C. Somebody will get me on that, but it's the sputted, it's the four ice cleat type,
Yeah.
the solid guide horn. That's what was on it, and it's on both the Stugs. So we have
And
say again.
and that was from Knox, right? The one he's doing now.
The one he's doing, yes, that was the one that was indoors at Knox.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that the crew up there had done like a Trop
Yep.
2 camo on it. Yeah,
Mhm.
back at that time, because I think they wanted something different than the OG and
The Dunkelgelbs, yeah.
and the Dunkel. So, but yeah, that would have been painted up like the OG G is. It would have been the same. It's all in the same unit. Both the Stu H's and that G, and then the Munster G were the four that were collected together with the Marder twos,
Mm.
the 261st Sturm Abteilung or Artillery Abteilung in Austria. So that's the red wolf's head with the red crosses of the black.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Red outlines. Yeah, that's it. Gary Redman and had done a really good write up on that many years ago on the old Armor for the Ages webpage, which I wish you could get that thing going again because it's got a lot of good data.
That was a really good page. There's a great article on the Panther G there, the last one
Yep.
that they sacrificed for the Panther II. But man, you talk about some seized up stuff. Some of those the Stugs and the Stews that were out at Aberdeen, man, those were some of the most neglected vehicles they had. Holy cow.
And we got the Stu H with the barrel all the way out of battery. That one's all back, and
Yeah.
that and that other Jagdpanzer IV were going to be kind of like the parts donor for fabrication of that because they're pretty far gone. Like the
Yeah.
Panzer III-N got sent out to Bliss. The Bliss put it out in their museum, so they got that taken care of. But yeah, the Nashorn, the other Stu 3 was actually, I think it was a cutaway on the left side of the hull, so it's got some sheet metal on it still.
Mm-hmm.
I know they wanted to do. They're looking at the Panzer II, and they were looking at a couple of the Shermans, just getting the Shermans painted up. And right now they just pulled the MX-13 out, and the MX-13's in the paint.
Oh, cool.
That's going to be a quick turn because the paint's pretty good on that.
Yeah.
The canvas is kind of damaged a little bit, but they did get one of the OG M8s, the Stingray looking one, not the Brittany one, but that was number two. That one ran when they parked it, so they got that parked back there where the Bradley is.
Yeah. You gotta, I remember we were walking through and you showed this, you gotta pull out that RSO 3, put that out.
Yeah, I don't know where that is. I know it's in the storage back there. I don't know where exactly, because some stuff got shifted around and moved around. They got the original or the first Abrams to go on Thunder Run.
Mm-hmm.
They got that a couple of months ago. They got that M36B1 like from Hood we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
They got the Abrams, the M1A2 V4. And I'm trying to think of what was the other new Vic.
I'd love to see y'all clean up that Whippet.
Well, I think it's pretty bad.
It's not great, but it's the only one in the States, right?
Yeah, it's like that Vickers.
Yeah.
It's another one. And the 1921 Independent, the Mark IV.
Mm-hmm. I'd love to see the Martyr 3, the 3M.
Yep. That would be quite an undertaking too, because it's open top.
Yeah.
But I mean, look at the Polish outfit. They pulled that SDKFZ6 out with just a subframe, and they built the whole thing. And
Oh yeah.
this one, the artillery version, is pretty much complete. I mean, it's all there.
Mm-hmm. Man, such a wild place. All the stuff that's there. It's like, I don't know, walking in. I remember the first time we went there, Aaron Cook and I, we were walking around and the guy had taken us. He's like, I don't know what's in half of these, and I don't know what well, he's like, I don't know if the keys match up. I'm not sure. He's like, we might just have to, open a few. And Aaron and I are like, we could open them all because it was like opening a door. Oh, there's just the Whippet. There's
Yep.
a Martyr 3. There's the Nashorn. Just a wild place and such an amazing place too. I'd love to see fresh paint on that Yog Tiger as well at some point.
That was kicked around a little bit too, but you got to get a. I think they'll have to get a bigger tug for that.
She's huge. Yeah, I mean, gosh, it's wild. And those tracks, are they on base as well for that?
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
still. Yeah, the track's still at the other facility. No,
man.
no, I think they drug it. I think they drug him over. I think they brought him over.
Yeah, man.
We
It's
do a they do a open house on every last Friday of the month with the foundation. So the
oh,
foundation's
nice.
doing that. And then they have the published like the quarterly ones that are the official Saturday
Mm-hmm.
official ones. But the last Friday, Ricky Young from the Armor Cavalry Foundation has got that set up. He's also the one who's sponsoring our model show that we do in November. Well, this year it's going to be December. We're going to be in Orlando during November. They're doing an AMPS figure show down there,
Oh, cool.
like the eighth or so of November. But our show at the TSF will be the Task Force 250. That'll be 11 December.
Okay.
So it'll start 11 to 12. Yeah, 11 to 12. So that'll be, again, that little show is non-affiliated, and one award per cat, and
Nice.
little raffle going on. And then we want to get something going where a theme, like a Battle of the Bulge theme, or model something
Yeah.
in the museum and something like that. You're gonna do something like that. I don't remember what they figured out for that one there. We always get, where are the amps registration forms? I said, dude, it's judged like amps, but it's not 1, 2, 3. It's not, you know what I mean? It's like a
Mm-hmm.
criteria thing.
No, it's an amazing place, and it's so nice that y'all are welcoming. Because sometimes at these military bases now, unfortunately, just security's tight and you
Yeah.
can't get on. But Benning's found a way around it, or found a way to
And
open it
the
up.
other thing,
So
every base, like you said, every base is different. I mean,
yeah,
I remember driving all the way out to Fort Jackson, and then it was like, oh, this day we're not allowing retirees in on base for whatever reason. I'm like, what about commissary? Yeah, no, we're just not doing that. It's like, okay, 4-hour drive for nothing.
yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good as long as as long as your stuff checks out and you can get the pre-registration done. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Have you ever been out to Sill? I went there probably in like the 2003-4 time frame.
We need to go. I mean, Chud's been out there a couple of times with Charlie. And I think
Yeah.
obviously they've been out there several times, but yeah, I want to get out there and see that. And John was out there last year.
Oh, nice.
Got to see the Brumbar and
The Hummel.
the Hummel, yeah, the Hummel Brumbar, and I don't know what else he said something else. I can't remember what it was. It wasn't another Stug. It was a
There's a Italian Somvente, the rear
90.
gunned.
Yep, the
Yeah.
90.
It's but they, oh my gosh, I remember visiting '03. They had just the big ass 28 centimeter Brumbar, towed weapon. They had
Mhm.
everything out there, and then a bunch of stuff. I never went to the indoor displays, but yeah, we just rolled up like we were coming back from Texas on a family vacation. I was like, Dad, can we stop at Fort Sill? They got a bunch of cool stuff there. He's like, Yeah, sure. Now my sister and brother and mom hated it, I'm pretty sure, but it was quite
I think
it was
it's the
cool.
170 or the 210 Morser. I think it's one of those two.
That's it. Yeah.
Because
And then they had
Koblenz has the other ones.
they also had, what is it, the Crusader, the self-propelled M109
Yeah,
replacement. They
yeah.
had the pilot vehicle there for that. And then they had a bunch of stuff brought over from the Gulf War. I guess you could say Gulf War II, but yeah.
That crazy T-34
Mm-hmm.
platform, yeah, for Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
We need to get you out here to that museum in Wyoming. The
Yeah, you need to go there.
military vehicle. It's incredible.
Yeah, I need to Chud needs to get in there. Because
Yeah, it's
BJ was coordinating to get some stuff for the truck because he wanted to do one of those big trucks,
yeah.
and he had some. He had some stuff lined up, man. We were talking with Take on stuff. He had got a project done for him, and he had some other stuff ready to go. He had talked to IBG or ICM at the Nats in Madison, and all that stuff was working, and the lost opportunity. I remember him talking to those guys up in Du Bois again. Looking at a bridging truck was one of the things he wanted, which I think an American bridging outfit with the pontoons and everything in 35th scale would be freaking phenomenal. But they were, we don't want to buy, 72nd then. But
Yeah, you need to come out. We'll check out that. We'll also go, well, you love airplanes, so we'll go to the Aviation Museum down in Colorado Springs, and then we'll check out Panzer Fabric in Grand Junction area.
I want to see what's going on with that. Yeah, I've been watching that Luke's build.
Yeah, they're building 2 of them out there. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It is crazy.
And they're
Panzer
also
IV.
putting together, a Sturmgeschütz 4.
Yeah. The guy was super nice. We roll up and he said, "Yeah, go ahead, climb on anything you want. Hop on in." I'm like, "God damn, man."
More and more like the Australians. You said, where the heck did they get that at?
Oh my gosh.
Or like Nordholz here. Nordholz over in Germany just pulling that stuff out of the set. Yeah.
Yeah.
How was that?
Oh, the Australian Museum was unbelievable. I mean, I walk in and I had some idea what to expect, but when I saw the Stug 4, there's probably 4 or 5 Panzer IVs. The Panzer IV that was at Duxford is there. I was like, where the hell did this? I'm like, how the hell did this get here? And then, the RSO Pack 75. They were running around a Stuart when I was there. They're doing that KV-1S that I got to walk around in the workshop with. I mean, just an amazing stuff. And obviously Tiger 1, the Panther that was restored by, Bruce Crompton or in the UK. The Yog Panther, freaking nuts. And then I didn't even spend that much time on the modern side, but their modern vehicles were incredible as well. They had a lot of stuff from the Littlefield collection. They had procured a lot of that. But man, some of they had probably 3 or 4 251s, and then one of them was it was like the flak wagon with the sides that go more square, as opposed to tapering in. I forget what variant that is. And then they had like a 250 new, a Stummel 250, and then a 250 that had the grief configuration with the antenna. I had no idea that was there. No clue. And then from a Stug 3 perspective, they had an A, a B, a G. They had 4 of them, and then I think they had an F. They had an F.
Yeah.
They had an F there as well, and then they were going to restore C maybe. It's crazy how much, and then all the grants they had. I've never seen that many in one place. I was like, shit, there's 4 of them sitting right here, and there's 3 out back, and I mean, it was just, again, incredible. When I do Australia again, I'll definitely spend 2 days there because I was there when it opened and they had to kick me out. I was the last person there.
Yeah.
So,
is it easy to get to?
oh yeah. I mean, I landed, you got to get to Australia, obviously, but I landed at the airport. I hopped in an Uber and it was probably like 10 or 12 minutes and it was like a $20 ride. And then I befriended somebody at the museum and they're like, "Oh, I'll take you back to the airport." I'm like, "Oh, thanks. I really appreciate that." So, but yeah, what an incredible place. And they're so nice. The guy there, I met Kurt, who's on the workshop Wednesdays, and oh yeah, you'd go nuts. You'd have to spend a week there because you'd want to, there's just so much to see. And they're super they don't let you climb on it, but I'm sure if we arrange something, they would. But gosh, I had my selfie stick and I was, 2 external batteries and hot swapping and it was great. So.
Yeah, they had contacted. I got an email from one of the guys years ago about the Tiger and that, and they were like, "Oh, we're not going to work with profit outfits because they're still going through figuring out how to get the TSF built and all that stuff." So it was a bunch of political, bureaucratic crap. But yeah, for information exchange, all day long.
Yeah, just incredible. So, but man, we've covered a lot of ground. I don't know if there's much else on the docket, but we certainly appreciate the time and gosh, maybe we need to just do part 2.
Well,
at
yeah,
some
we need
point.
to do like the Panzer Tracks approach where we do volume 1,
This is
volume
volume
2. This is just volume 1 and intro, right?
We could do. We'd probably need to do a Sherman episode
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
Get
for sure.
get John Hale on there.
Yeah.
Get Jackson and TJ, a little bit of Grizz.
TJ the painter, right? I mean, he
Yeah,
just
the painter. He's well,
That
painter,
Ryan paint guy.
printer guy. Yeah, and then I saw Last Chance that he built up, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll give him that.
Yeah, you know what we call it last chance? We call it no chance because it's it's lost a few
It
awards
didn't
at
win.
shows.
It didn't win squat. Yeah, yeah. I got your Panther and his return to center. I had to box it back up because my daughter had to move back down. She's going to another school and get out of Atlanta for getting extorted up there for some, for a little apartment. She brought her cats with, so we have 7 cats. Like,
7.
There's nothing on display right now anywhere.
Wow.
I got, and then
You could probably get some federal grant funding for like a zoo for 7, probably get a deal.
and they're yeah, there's all sorts of just, I don't know. There's a 12-pounder right here, and I got a little dude. So on the February 19 and 20 of next year, they've got the 2027 Atlanta Model Figure Show and the Amps Atlanta, which is Artillery 1898 present going on. And I know President Mike Reeves is running both clubs right now, same location. And I'll shoot you this again so you guys can put it out closer to the gig. But yeah, we wanted to get, and I really appreciate Posse's support on the amp side. Mike Cyclin, I did some coordinating on that, and we're working through. Mike's done a lot of work with Mike Spivey, does the graphics for like Insanity. He does our shirts.
Yeah,
been really helpful, and he goes to the figure show piece. So, and we've been getting a lot of guys. We got Henry Wells coming all the way from Oklahoma. Of course, Steve and the crew. You guys coming out, and then guys all from the Northeast coming down.
Arkansas folks.
Oh, the Arkansas guys been phenomenal. Ken Childers and Rob Lecker and that crew. They've always been since day one. South Carolina had kind of tapered off a little bit, but they were really good supporting before. And then the Florida guys, I want to say that too. The Armor Gator dudes.
Yeah.
And Ed Ingersoll, and Bill Winters, and Robert Edwards down there in Florida, which Bill and I and Mike, we tried to go down to Florida for that show in March and April. So that's been really good. That's a pretty decent show too. That's where John Struck, that's his local deal down there. So he's right next door to that. So it's been a good piece, but.
Yeah, that Atlanta show is so much fun. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it this past year. Thanks for reminding me. I think I'm probably going to go on tonight and look at buying tickets early for it. I love it. I've been at both locations because it was at Marietta, and then it was in another spot 3 years ago. Both locations have been great. The Marietta place, though, gosh, up on that hill, beautiful venue, beautiful town, great food mart down the road.
Yeah, there's 500 Powder Springs. Yeah.
Oh man, it's just awesome. And then obviously the museum tour. So listeners, if you're considering a show in the spring, Atlanta is the place to be. And I will confidently say that y'all have the best hospitality room in all of scale modeling shows. The married couple that run it, they're so nice.
Yeah, Mark and Amy. Yep.
Oh, amazing. And then, I mean, gosh, the one night they're just like, here, you close the door and turn off the lights. We're going to bed. And I'm like, great. This is
that whole figure side, Mark Sprayberry.
Yeah, Mark Sprayberry. Yeah.
Good dude.
We get guys from Texas, Doug Cohen. We get
good people.
Jim Rice. We get all the old school guys for figures.
Yeah, Jim Rice.
Rob Urban was there too.
Yeah.
Yep, Robin, Dave. I was just talking to him.
Oh, Dave Ferris.
Terry Ferris, coming up.
Yep. Yeah, good folks.
Ken Childers and Rob Lecker are always at that show. So,
yeah. And Dave Steele as well, and then the other Dave as well. So, man, well, good times. I'm glad you plugged it. I'm certainly going to try to make it again. We'll wrangle TJ down and even get Aaron Cook there. So,
I got to make the expo. I saw you put out the dates for June, and that's doable. Plus, it'll be good to get out of here with the weather heating up.
Well, and that'll get you close enough that we'll at least get you to Panzer Fabric or to that museum in Wyoming.
Either way, I mean, it's just the flight. I mean, I remember I was going to say back in the day, I never went to an amp show back in the 2000s because I wasn't going to be spending $250 or $300 to fly across the country for a 2-day show. and now we're SMC. So
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, if
I
you
got-
come out, man, I don't know if you can get me on base, but I'd love to go down and check out Carson because there's some vehicles still on post there
Yeah.
that are cool.
that shouldn't be an issue as long as we can figure out what the visitors criteria is.
Yeah.
I'm going in early to SMC. I'm gonna go to Dallas or go to MBK first,
Okay.
and then ride with them, and then Ivan Mumsha. I don't know how to say his name right, but
Yeah, good
our guy up
dude.
in Atlanta.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
the guy's got like 15 freaking model magazine covers and articles. But we're always giving him a lot of a rash of stuff. But we're gonna hang out for a day afterwards, and then go check out some stuff, and then fly back on like a Tuesday. So 'cause it's
Nice.
in the same place, so that'll work out.
Gonna be fun. It's
Where's
gonna be a good time.
Where's MBK at in Germany?
They're in Delmhorst.
Okay.
Delmhorst. It's over by south of Bremen. It's like 20 minutes from Bremen.
Okay. Because we're gonna spend time in Cologne.
It's about an hour and a half, 2 hours north.
Oh man, you need to come. You need to come to Cologne one day.
When you go to Bremen up there, and then it's the freaking the dual rotor Wolf helicopter thing was right
Mhm.
there. We drive it by it, and the boss is like, yeah, that helicopter was just down this road on this airfield. And I'm like, what? I said, yeah, Wolf was here. And I'm like, oh, you mean like the airplane Wolf? He goes, yeah. What else would it be? And I was like, and they're like, you want to go to U-boat? You want to go to Munster? And I was like, come on, man, that's not really fair.
Yeah.
But we went, Christian was out on vacation, but Thomas Hartwig, who does Bundeswehr stuff, took me.
Yeah.
Munster. Yeah.
Thomas, oh man, that's a name. He's done that website forever.
Yep.
It's all in German, but I mean translations are
I
easy.
think they
But
finally
gosh,
they shut it down.
no way.
Or was shutting down this year. Yeah,
Jeez.
I think it's 25 years. I think.
Oh, easily, because I remember reading it in high school. So crazy, and the content they would put out was just a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
oh man.
I gotta slip my gift basket to Hobbs to take to MBK, so I get my Hetzer. So
The 1/16 scale answer. Get it done,
Yeah.
Hobbs.
Yeah, they got some stuff in the pipeline. Of course, they announced that 32nd 262
Yeah.
that RT is going off on and doing. Like I say, man, let the kit come on. You're like doing everything for it.
Right. They got it the whole shebang.
It's like Res Kit and the 105 and the A7. They got everything except you don't have the kit. You don't have the fuselage wings. You got everything else. So, yeah, hopefully they'll be able to push more 32nd aircraft stuff. But I mean,
Yeah.
I pre-ordered a P-51B from Edward, and
Mhm.
it's complete. It's got the wheels and everything, and so it's not one of these the drama ones. But the boss from them said they already got some stuff in the pipeline they're working on that looks pretty cool. So
Oh, very cool.
that was a good deal on that.
Well, David, thank you so much for your time, man. What a range of topics and what a extensive library of knowledge you bring. So we'll call this chapter 1, John, of
Yes.
one of hopefully many. Thank you for your time tonight, and we'll definitely have you back on.
Guys, thanks for having me. Good seeing you, John and Scott, again.
Cheers,
And
Hobbs. This was awesome.
All right.
And thanks for everything you've done for the hobby and for vehicles. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Cool.
Take care. Yeah, hopefully everybody enjoyed that interview. Hobbs is an incredible guy, knows a lot about a lot. He's very meticulous, approaches everything from a very organized point of view. We actually recorded a couple of times before he got something that, was kind of up to his own personal standards. But yeah, a model researcher, works on model projects, but also 1-to-1 scale tank restoration. Just really fascinating guy. And I have a strong suspicion that this will not be the last time that you hear him on the Plastic Posse. So anyway, Jensen, what time is it over in Preston, UK?
In Priest Town, the time currently is 5 minutes past 4, which means dinner is quickly approaching. It is a luscious, sunny Sunday here in England, and that means it's time for an ad break. Do you want to show the world that you're proudly part of the Plastic Posse? Well, we've got you covered. We've got a whole range of official Plastic Posse merchandise available, from t-shirts and hoodies to all sorts of other goodies, and of course, our world-famous Plastic Posse lounge trousers. Yes, you heard that right. World famous lounge trousers. Because let's be honest, what's the point in building models in comfort if you can't do it while wearing official Plastic Posse trousers? Whether you're looking for something to wear at a model show, something to lounge about whilst modeling at the bench, or just want to proudly advertise your questionable life choices to the general public, we've got something for you. So head over to the Plastic Posse merchandise store, check out our range, and grab yourself some official Posse gear. The link is in the show's description. Or just search the Plastic Posse podcast merchandise or loungetrousers.com. Support the podcast, look good while doing it, and most importantly, get yourself some of those world famous lounge trousers. Okay, everyone. Thank you for that. Thank you for joining us again for episode 145. And thanks again to our official podcast sponsors, Micro World Games, Tankcraft, Tamiya USA, Bases by Bill, and AK Interactive. We hope you all enjoyed this show, and we look forward to hearing for you to hear us again in 2 weeks' time. Stay safe, happy modeling. To quote Night Shift, build your kits, don't just collect them, and we will see you on the next one. Goodbye for now.
One of the ways that you can help to support the Plastic Posse is to become a Plastic Posse Outrider. If you want to become one, it's super easy. You can even do it wearing those fantastic lounge trousers that Jensen goes on about. Just go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/Plastic Posse Podcast, and you can set up recurring donations there. They start at just $1 a month, and there's 3 different tiers of support. And there's some great benefits for being an Outrider. You get early access to our podcasts, premium access to the hosts, a chance to appear in a podcast, and exclusive Triple P content and social events at model shows.
Let's recognize our amazing deputy marshals. These loyal contributors support what the Posse does, and we genuinely appreciate each and every one of you. Scale Model Russ, step forward. You've been promoted from Posse Foreman to Deputy Marshal. Congratulations, and thank you very much. The rest of the Deputy Marshals are, in no particular order, Pellings, Greg Friddle, Ben Hardaway, Kevin Johnson, Chaz Teets, Matt Parvis, Jacob Ford, Robert Klein, Todd Reich, Brad Evans, Brett Johnson, Angel Garcia, Carl Doran, Pat Brown, Ryan Smith, Alamo Squadron, Model Fiesta, Curtis Towers, Winston Gould, The Quiet Corner Modeler, Daryl Miller, Rob Booth, David Clark, Robbie Knopfs, Wesley Becker, David Wassel, Matt Tutman, Zach Pease, Brett Marcan, Greg Williams, Nick Wolf, Sean Earl, Black Hat Scale Models, Red Beach One Studios, James Morondo, Mike Norris, Stephen Rodwell, Rick Cooper, Eric Kavina, John Hale, Eric Kane, Logan Handsome, Tim Gidcom, Dan Newman, Robert Blocker, Tyler Moore, Derek Post, Craig Flynn, Kenneth Childress, Drew Gardner, Scott Hall, Frank Perone, Jeremy Diamond, Terry Wilkinson, Chris Lovewell, Andrew Callis, Ethan Idemill, Steve Baker, Jay Kidd, Lee Fogel, Mark Ewing, Toadman, Model Doc, Greg James, Les Workala, John Everett, Uncle Buck, Mark Bradley, Eric Brubaker, Jeremy Moore, DB Scale Model Studio, Jeremy Elliott, Mike Talley, Previous Seat, Mediocre Middle Age Modeler, and JC Osborne.
Let's not forget our Posse Foreman. This crew is made up of Posse Outriders who give the Deputy Marshals a hand. We'd like to thank them as well for their support. Tiomi Workshop, Andy, the voice of Bob, Graham, Keith, Dwayne, AK Armor, Bill, Casey, Therese, Stefan, Mikkel, LeVar, Gil, Mike, Michael, Scott, Emery, the Krieger, Aussie Modeler, Jeff, Eddie, Ross, Warhoff Models, G. Baker, Tom Stuff, Crazy Loca, Len, Cliff, Damian, Cody, Nukeman, Mike, Paul, Ibones Models, Mr. Grizz, Jackson, Joel, Chris, Jamie, Papa Steve Munsell, JV, Eric, Matthew, and David. And of course, our $1 and free Posse Outriders. Thank you, everyone.
Has anyone watched Lanterns on HBO?
No, don't know what that is.
It's a new DC show
Oh,
about
okay.
Green Lantern.
Oh, okay. I have
Um,
not.
Not a big DC guy myself. Green Lantern is pretty cool. I mean, that movie from years ago is the worst, but
Yeah,
it's
with Ryan Reynolds, right?
yeah, this one's pretty cool. It's like a murder mystery. It's almost like True Detective meets superheroes because Green Lanterns are cops. That's what they are essentially, and they're solving a murder mystery on Earth. I'm gonna imagine they'll go to space at some point, but it's pretty cool. My wife even watched it and was like, "This is pretty neat."
Oh, I'll have to check it out.
There's like Sean Earl's way into that Green Lantern. That's his favorite comic book, and he said there's all different colors, and the different colors of lanterns all have different sort of powers and abilities. There's red ones and yellow ones and black ones, and
Those are all bad guys, Scott.
mm,
The Sinestro Corps are the yellow ones. They're the bad guys.
mm.
Red is typically bad guys too,
Yes, Scott.
and
Damn it.
the Black Lanterns are also bad guys. That's like death. So yeah, each color is like powered by an emotion, essentially. But yeah, it's a pretty cool show.
Let's
And
check
then
it out.
also unrelated, have you guys seen the Spider-Man movie?
Not
No, not
yet.
yet.
What are you guys doing? It's so good.
I don't leave the house.
I know you nerd.
Dipshit.
Idiot. No, I haven't. I've heard good things. I think Aaron went to see it and said it was good.
Yeah, what else? What else is he
That's
gonna
what I'm
do?
saying.
Sit in his
Build a
hammock.
model? Yeah, sit in his hammock.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the last Marvel movie I saw in the theater. I think it was probably one of the other Spider-Man movies. Kind of fell off the bus a little bit on that one. But Dune Part 3 comes out in December. Looks
Yeah, it's gonna be
really
awesome.
good. Yeah.
The same day as Avengers Doomsday.
Mm.
I don't know how that's
Oh
gonna work.
man,
I don't
throwing
know. I don't know
down.
why they would do that. It's stupid. But whatever. That's fine. Jensen, have you
Yeah.
actually started working on your SMC project? Have you cut a piece of plastic off
Yes.
of the sprue?
Plastic is cut.
How many pieces?
Enough for me to stop cutting plastic when I saw how annoyingly detailed the cockpit walls were. But
Dumbass.
But then I again, like I say, because of the jug being so round and it just being a tub cockpit, I know
I
ResKit
am
do the cockpit set for it, and I was like, can't be asked.
So let's see, based on our episode, Jensen, you can't get that P-47 cockpit done in the next week. You can't do it.
Okay. Give me a week.
I love the cockpit color in the Thunderbolt. It's one of my favorite things about
It's
that
such a
airplane.
weird green color.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got the MRP for it. What there's a name for it, innit? It's like chromate green or some bollocks.
It's the green in the jug is almost like a teal color. Like it's
Yeah.
Republic used a really, really dark, almost got foresty green looking color. But yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Olive drab aircraft in French markings I really like. I don't know why American aircraft in French markings. Don't know why that does something for me, but I mean Spitfires as well. So
Hey, we all have our thing.
we do.
Jensen, that color is dull dark green, is what it's called
Oh,
for the Thunderbolt.
what for the cockpit?
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure it's not bronze green?
It's the spec sheet or whatever called it dull dark green. I don't know if the model manufacturers have a different name for it, but yeah, it's just a
Gotcha.
much darker, much bluer green than your typical zinc chromate, US zinc chromate cockpit color.